Hey, welcome to FliteTest. I'm Josh, and this is Josh.
Hi.
And today we're building the FT Explorer.
Now, if you haven't seen the FT Explorer, it's a real fun build, and it's actually taking what we've learned off of the Tiny Trainer.
Yeah.
With the Tiny Trainer, we wanted people to fall in love with building and also learn how to fly. But this takes it one step further. It also teaches people how to design as well. Now, one other special thing about this design too is it has multiple wings. So whether you're beginning or whether you're into sport flying or FPV, you actually can have a build and build with other people at the exact same time.
And you can change it.
You can change it.
It can grow with you.
Yes, another real special thing about this is we're taking on a new concept. There's only really one part of this airplane that is consistent with all multiple designs. And this plane can be stretched, it can be moved, it can be swapped out with the existing FT wings. The whole idea is to help you guys learn what a design change will cost.
Okay.
And that way, once you learn what it'll cost, you can learn from that on how to design aircraft.
Right. So we already started out by centering our servos, and you want to make sure that it's already bound to your radio as well.
Make sure you get it bound to your receiver, so your servos are centered, your receiver's bound. Also make sure things like your motors and the bullets, if you have to solder them. Now we do sell hardware packs. This plane flies off of both B and C motor packs.
Okay.
And the nice thing about that is it includes 6 servos on each one of those kits.
Okay.
You actually have enough to build both wing platforms, plus your motor, plus the ESC, everything you need to be able to fly both wing platforms in one kit.
Nice. Now we're just going to build this one as a 3-channel, right?
Yeah, we're actually going to build 2. You're going to build a 3-channel, I'm going to build a 4-channel wing.
Okay. And as always, we have free downloadable plans that you can build yourself.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Dan Sponholz. If you guys haven't seen, Dan Sponholz is the creator of the Bloody Baron, but he's also a very talented plans drawer. Plans drawer?
Works for me.
Yeah, if you download the plans, you're going to find the experience is amazing. All right, let's get our materials and get started. Now the first thing we're going to be building is the main core of the FT Explorer.
The FT Explorer core?
The FT Explorer core.
Core of the Explorer?
Core of the Explorer. Backpack. This is going to be the main component that holds your motor, holds your wings, holds your boom, and then also everything reconfigures around. So your radios, your motor pod, and this is remarkably tough. But this is what we're going to build first, because for some people that are designing, this is the only thing you're going to need to build, especially if you're doing this in a school or as a group project.
Cool.
So let's go ahead and punch out those pieces now.
All right.
Now we got the basic pieces punched out, and if you never built one of these before, this is a great first project. It's just a little bit more involved than some of our early designs, but there's some key things like A folds, B folds. And to get those folds, we got to actually remove some paper from in between.
Right.
Why don't you show them where that is, bro?
Yeah, so let me use this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to bust this right here, and then just remove this little sliver right here in the middle.
Easy thing to do is to take your razor blade and just lightly trace where the score cuts are. So we don't go all the way through the paper, but we just slightly reinforce that little score cut. And then once you do that, it should roll out in one nice clean piece, just like that.
Get it out like that.
That looks good.
Thank you.
Perfect, perfect. So let's go ahead and do all these here. We're gonna go ahead and remove the paper here, here, inside here, 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 and here. Now the building board that you see here is actually a building board that we had designed for schools and groups to be able to lay on top of tables. But if you buy a crafty kit, the box of the crafty kit actually unfolds to reveal a cutting board very similar to this. And if you take a couple mists of camp dry over top of it, it keeps the hot glue from sticking. And what the FT Crafty Kit was designed for was to get you good quality hot glue gun, glue sticks specially formulated for foam board, squares, rulers, really good quality razor blades, servo centering tool, a lot of key things that you need to build these planes. So if you don't have that, check that out. See what I'm doing is I'm just laying this down and I'm actually just rolling this out. Once you score cut deep enough, everything just will roll right out into your fingers. All right, so let's go ahead and lay everything down now that we have all the glue so people can see exactly what needs to be
Is that something that's
removed.
going to get punched out?
Go ahead. Would laugh if you like totally missed and destroyed the piece. All right, let's go ahead and lay this out so you guys can see everything that you need to remove. And also, let's line up the A folds and the B folds so you can see what needs to go on. So you can see here, you can pause it if you have to. These are all the areas that you need to peel the paper off before we move to our next step. Once you've done that, we're going to put our attention on this guy right here. Whenever you do an A-fold where the side plate goes over top of the bottom, we're going to leave the side portion on the table.
Okay.
We're going to roll it up here.
Right.
And we're going to push down. Reason being is when we do that, we make a nice sharp edge. If you tried to fold this and kind of hold it here, you could see how
It'd be a little bit bowed.
A little awkward here. Yep.
Okay.
So we're going to use the table as our friend, but also we don't want to put the glue where the paper is going to be. We want to put the glue where it's going to be doing the most good. And at this point, this is one key tip for success I really want to stress. More glue does not mean more strength. This plane is very resilient, very overbuilt. So you don't want to go crazy on the glue because a lot of things will be sliding in and out. If you have a lot of excess glue squeezing out, it's going to make it kind of resist and get tight.
Now, you were saying to don't put the glue on the paper, like this paper down here?
Correct. What you want to do is you want to put the glue on the surface that's actually going to be doing the difference. So we're going to focus our glue right in the corner.
Right on this edge right here.
Right on the edge, or if anything, right in that corner right here. See that corner?
Right.
Reason being is that way you'll get the best of both worlds. If you put it just on the far edge, it could easily squeeze out.
Okay.
Want to do it?
Oh, no.
I believe in you, man.
Okay, thank you.
Here's the thing. Always keep a little piece of scrap foam around. If it does squeeze out, wipe it up before it dries.
Okay.
Start about a ½ inch in from the edge and end about a ½ inch in from the edge. Looks nice. That's perfect. It's hard with metric and imperial inches, but roughly about a 1/16 inch wide bead, or maybe 3 millimeter wide. Perfect. Excellent. I'll take that for you. Now go ahead and lay this flat on the table and rotate this up, and then put your pressure down.
Right.
And while you're putting your pressure down, it's very simple right at this point.
Ooh.
To hold that there and make sure it's nice and 90 degrees.
Does that come in the crafty kit?
It does come in the crafty kit.
Okay.
Shameless plug.
Crafty kit.
Ready for the next step?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the next step, but before you go further, I want to show you what a perfect job you did. You see how this is completely dry and clean and solid?
Yes.
That is perfect.
Thank you.
Guys, this is what you want to do right here. You want to make sure that there's no little bubbles, no little beads squeezing out, because when the boom slides in here, it'll be restricted and kind of dent things.
Yeah.
So I'm not even getting in your way. I'm going to let you do the other side.
Pressure.
No pressure. All right. Yep. Table's your friend. Push it down. Yep. Put your attention on both. Did you almost feel like how it slid in there?
Right, yeah.
And got it nice and solid?
Uh-huh.
And we'll just go back here. Now, you don't have to buy everything. If you guys have just a simple roll of tape like this, I'm going to try to pull this up. There. If you just have a simple roll of tape, that makes a fantastic 90-degree edge. You can even go up against the wall and push it against the wall if you want. Just make sure that your table is square and your wall is vertical.
Or a DVD case.
Or a DVD case. Anything that's perfectly square. Now take your time with this. And one thing I strongly encourage, if you guys do choose to buy a speed build kit, get some foam board and trace this out. There's nothing better than a pattern that you buy, and that way either if you crash it or you want to build another one or you have a friend that wants to get into it, you can hand them on a silver platter a nice free speed build kit and jump right into the good experience. So tracing these parts out ahead of time will save you a lot of time and effort if and when you crash, because you know we all crash, right? Cool.
That way you'll have spare parts on hand.
Spare parts are good parts. All right, before we go any further, let's go ahead and take the tape down each side here, and I'm actually going to not go right down the middle, but I'm going to overlap it just a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit extra from one side to the other. It doesn't have to be perfect. Go ahead and do the other side here, and then we'll squeeze that down. Perfect. The reason being we want to do this is when you put Velcro on and when you strip things down, it wears and tears on that area. You don't want that to be the case. Beautiful. You can overlap it a 1/4 inch or so. Beautiful.
1/4 inch.
Now, if you guys have built our swappable series, this is going to be very familiar. We use tape a lot for reinforcement. And one thing we haven't mentioned is we don't need a power pod for this. That's why we didn't say go build your power pod first. We actually use the FT Element Simple Firewall, but it's a new version that's going to be in all of our kits from now on. And what that does, beautiful, man. Here, just take a scrap piece of foam, squeeze it down. The cool thing, the way this is designed, you can actually custom fit a power pod right into that area and even make it a tractor style.
Oh, cool.
So everything's dimensioned with common dimensions to be friendly with previous designs. So really the imagination's the limit.
Nice.
You've gift wrapped before, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and just cut some simple squares and kind of gift wrap this. You know, and fold that up and around.
Right, okay.
So it's nice and durable. Beautiful, man. Now while he's doing that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to glue up these two pieces here. They're very simple. We can go ahead and put our attention towards that. This is an A fold here, so A above. Simple glue down. I start just inside one edge and end just inside one edge. Once again, table's our friend, 90 degrees. Don't try to push it until it gets tight. Take it just to the 90-degree mark and stop right there.
Hey, when I fold this tape up, you want me to lay it like down on this surface
Keep on pushing
here.
it through.
Okay,
Perfect.
cool.
The reason why we went long on the tape there is that way that's going to add as a nice guide. When you slide that boom in, it's not going to be binding up on you as easy. Once again, we're taking very careful time to make sure there's no glue seeping out in this area here. Always double check and triple check the style of fold you have before you make the decision. Once it's there, it's so strong, it's very difficult to undo. Another good reason to trace out all your foam board pieces. One more time. 90 degrees.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I think we're good.
Now comes where this really starts coming together here. Now we're on to the next part. We're going to go ahead and glue this portion here to here. You can see that there's two different sized dowels.
Yes.
It's very easy and natural to go this way, but we don't want that. We want to go ahead and go this way.
Because that's how it fits.
That's how it fits. If you did this, you're building it backwards.
Yes.
Unless you intend to build it backwards, you know. Let's go ahead and test fit though. When we test fit, what we want to see is we want to see all these edges are nice and flat up against the inner wall of the cavity.
Right.
Just like you see here.
Okay.
Reason being is once we glue this down, these edges are going to come up and fold right up
and
against
it needs to be flush.
Yep. We really don't have to go crazy with glue.
glue.
All we need to do is put a thin, small bead on both sides here. We really don't want too much to push out because it's going to make folding this difficult.
Okay.
So why don't you go ahead and do that?
All right.
Oh no. Cool. Perfect, man. Yep.
Put it in.
Put it in. Get the one tabs in first, and then push to the second ones. Beautiful. Nice.
Okay.
Now, if you're worried about the spacing, just take a scrap piece of foam and drag it down on both sides just to make sure you have that. Feel it kind of slide in there?
Yeah, that sound is horrible.
I know, it is a horrible sound. The more times you check to make sure everything is square, this is what holds everything. So if this is square, your boom's going to be square, your tail's going to be square, your wing's going to be square. Everything will be square if you really take your time.
Right.
It doesn't take very long either, does it?
Mm-mm.
We're going to go ahead and do this portion last, focusing mainly on this portion. This is going to be a B fold, so B means besides the bottom plate or the top plate. So we're going to actually keep it just as it is, use a table as a friend, and then push down, push down this portion here and hold this nice and square.
Okay.
Now to do that, let's go ahead and put glue all over this area right here.
Okay.
And just a little bit against the wall, but keep it away from the paper.
Okay.
All right? You're doing so good with the glue, I'm not going to even bother.
So all over here. It's
Yep.
probably a little too much, huh?
No, that's actually okay. You're just going to have to squeeze a lot of it out.
Okay. And then
Yep, the little bead right there.
right through here. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Fantastic, man. All right, so against the table on the bottom, slide it up, push it down. Fantastic. Now, just what he's doing is perfect. He's actually pushing against the boom on the other side and hold it in. Now, you don't want to push on the top or it's just going to crease right over.
Right.
So he's putting most of his force down on the lower area. You don't want to see this nice and tight against the sides. I'm just going to push this down just a little bit more, just like that. How's the front end look? Good. Good? Yep. Excellent.
Please don't take my sunshine away.
Beautiful, man. I'll go ahead and put a little quick bead here. One thing that this area doesn't need is anything sliding through. I'm just going to put a little reinforcement bead right here.
All right.
You don't have to if you don't want to. All right, you ready to do the other side? Looks fantastic. All right, there you go.
So.
Nice. Yep, push down.
Push it down.
Right flat against the table. Perfect.
It seems like it has a lot more emphasis on making sure everything is square
Yes.
than other builds.
Yeah, most of the other builds you can kind of, if the tails look crooked, you can kind of cheat it a little bit, crush it down. Oftentimes we're like, don't bother gluing it down until you set it up with the wing and then just match it. With this one here, it's not necessarily an advanced build, but since we're saying design off of this, use this as a platform for creating things, you have to have a level of consistency. It's kind of like your control when you learned in school. You always had a control unit. That was always what it was.
Right.
This is your control. All right, so you can probably guess that this is going to be our next step, huh? And what we're going to want to do, we'll slide this a little bit towards the edge of the table. We're going to go ahead and put glue here, and on this edge here, and then here.
Oh, okay.
want to put a little glue here, that way it holds that paper down. Right. Flip that over, and then go ahead and push that against the table inverted. 180 degrees.
Yes.
There you go, that's perfect. Trying to like get through there. Beautiful.
All right.
Nice. Nice thing about that camp dry on that, just brush it right
cool.
off. Isn't that cool? About 3 light coats.
Camp dry.
We should really buy stock in that stuff, huh? All right, let's go ahead and test fit this. This is going to actually be what supports our power pod.
Okay.
Not power pod in the term of swappables, but power pod in the term of what holds our motor, and it's a pod.
Yeah.
But it's not our power pod. This is going to slide up here, key in here, and you'll see that the very top edge of this is going to line up nice and flush on both sides.
Okay.
And you built this remarkably square. Everything lines up beautifully.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now that we have that the way we want it, let's go ahead and we'll throw some glue on both sides. See, I'm a little bit more generous with this one here. But also, I want to use this to help me slide this in.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to go down, in, and up. Just like that. I'm going to put most of my energy now into making sure this is all lined up. Like so. Alright. So you can see it's kind of globby, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and just take a scrap piece and smear it. We're actually going to go back after this is nice and dry and solid, and we're going to glue these tops down so that glue will stick to that glue no problem, but you do want to smear it nice and smooth like you see here. That looks good. A little pinch on both sides, sing the song in your head, and you're good to go.
All right.
Alright, you want to go ahead and put a bead of glue on both of these sides here and here. All this really does is just gives you a nice kind of finished look to it. It really has no purpose other than that.
Right. So you don't see the edges of the foam board.
One thing we've learned so much from, I think we have like 27 designs now. Every time we do something different, we want to bring a new technique in, and we also want to teach people how to make their plane last longer. Because by this point, people are really, they're keeping these things for a while. Beautiful, just like that, perfect.
Okay.
So what we're doing is a lot more foldovers. And on Dan Sponholz's plane, we put a couple foldovers to keep things from delaminating.
Yeah.
On the MiG-3, which is a community release coming up by Nerd Nick, we have a lot of foldovers because that plane can sometimes hit up to 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
But also on future releases, you're going to see a lot of things folded over very finished edges. So these can last months and months, if not years. Really, crashes is going to be what kills it, not humidity, moisture, warpage.
Right.
Cool. Nice finish edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You want to do a B-fold on this one?
Sure. So it's gonna be the side.
You got
so
it.
where do we want most of the glue to go? On this side. Right
On that
here?
side
Okay.
and that corner.
Great.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Ta-da! Nice. Now you notice that these joints aren't necessarily as tight. You built previous designs of ours, and it's
Yeah.
actually usually like a friction fit that stretches it.
Right. Yeah.
The reason we're leaving these a touch loose is it's more important to have them perfectly square
Mm-hmm.
and than loose, but also to give that extra gap to give a little more precision.
Okay.
So that's why you feel a little bit loose, and that's why it's so important to keep it square. It gives you that flexibility to make sure everything's just perfect.
Everything fits together real tight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, so once that's all nice and dry, let's go ahead and give it a test fit. These grids are really nice. You can always tell it's 90 degrees. We're going to slide this under. I'm pushing this in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll slide this under. And if you guys have built the guinea pig or anything like the guinea pig, you'll notice this is a very common step, but there's a little surface right here. We're going to want to go right to where that's flush, just like that.
Okay.
And that's going to be where we want it. Now, the easiest way to do this, fold it in. Let's go ahead and put a nice little bead of glue on all 3 edges,
Okay.
and then we'll slide it back in. The reason that we're doing it there and not here is by doing it this way, you're pushing the glue further back and keeping that front lip very nice and clean. If you did it the other way, it's possible the glue would puddle and leave a big glob where the future nose needs to go.
Is that good right there?
That's perfect, man. Yep. So fold this in, and I'll also make it a little bit shorter. And slide that on back. Am I about there?
Let's see. Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
little bit past now, but
A little bit past?
yeah.
A little bit past is okay.
Okay.
What you want to make sure is it's past enough. This should be on the very edge of the lip, so this has 2 pieces of foam that the barbecue skewer is pulling against.
Uh-huh.
And it should just be, yep, that's perfect.
Okay.
If you go too short, what's going to happen is the barbecue skewer is not going to have that extra thickness it
It's not
needs to
gonna
support the
catch
weight.
the meat.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, that's nice and dry. Guess what?
What?
The core is done.
Nice. Look at that.
We're going to go and as we build this, we're going to actually preserve this and show you guys how you can make these things last forever. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple pieces. I'm going to have you do the rest.
Okay.
But we're going to use our hot glue gun real quick. And we're going to place it down in this cavity right here. You can see with the laser cut kits, there's a nice little gentle chamfer. But even if you have a hand cut kit, you can do this as well. You're just going to be smearing off a little bit more. I'm going to put a very, very thin bead of glue here on both sides. And try this on a scrap piece of foam first, just to kind of get used to it. Depending on how high temperature your glue is how long you're going to wait, but you're going to let this get roughly to half tackiness.
Okay.
Tackiness.
Half
Half tack.
tackiness.
You're going to let it start setting up a little bit.
Backpack.
Once it starts setting up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to smear out the rest. I'm very careful about what I put glue on, what I don't. The neat thing is the nose is going to slide into this. And if the nose slides into this, it's going to have a nice rubbery texture.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to keep delamination at bay. So as you do this, you're going to be a pro. More and more you do it. Very, very, very thin bead of glue all the way around. And if you miss a little spot and it's not a consistent bead, you don't have to worry because what you're smearing off will go back and fill in that area.
Okay.
You can see I'm just kind of smearing it down in here. That's going to keep the paper from delaminating, give you a nice rubber texture. You want to do that edge right there?
Mm-hmm.
I'll get you a new piece of,
Squeegee.
yep. Nice. Now this takes, what do you think? This has taken an extra 2-3 minutes?
Uh-huh.
You just added another 2-3 months, maybe even a year to the life of the airplane. It's not only going to keep the paper from delaminating, but it's also going to keep warpage down too. Last 2 edges are on the very back. Light bead. Now, for everyone out there designing, creating their own airplanes, this trick works on everything. Adds very little weight because you're taking off most of the glue you put on. I used to stick my finger and wipe
Yeah,
it, but
that's not safe.
I got too many people yelling at me for giving them blisters.
Mm-hmm.
So
You don't even have feeling in your fingertips anymore, do you?
I don't. I used to paint car parts and don't feel much anymore.
People were complaining about your fingers back then, too.
They did. They looked really bad. I forgot about that. The core is now officially done.
Core of the Explorer.
What's going to happen 10 years from now when people don't even know what that is, huh?
I know.
We just dated ourselves.
It's sad.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the front nose. What do you say?
Okay.
Okay. So our next step for this is we're going to be building the nose of the FT Explorer. Now I strongly encourage you, before you build the nose, trace this out on a scrap piece of foam board because this can be changed, modified,
Yeah, if you want
replaced.
to put some like FPV gear in it, you can change it up. Or if you crash,
Yes.
then you would definitely want to replace the face.
We all crash, don't we?
We do.
So we want to open up some cavities on here, and we already did that. And by doing that, we're going to follow the same techniques as peeling the paper away. We have to go back with a razor blade over the red score cuts. Go ahead and do so.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to go ahead and remove the paper just as you see here. Here, here, not here. No, right there. The next step we're going to do is on this piece here, this piece here, we're going to very carefully remove the paper.
Okay. On this side.
On this side, yes.
Okay.
On the side that the cavities are facing, not on this side. Nice.
Like that?
Perfect. Yep.
Cool.
All right. Here, I'll take that for you. Oh wait, you got a pattern, don't you? B-fold time. Now I'm going to
B-fold.
show you something a little bit different.
Okay.
We put a lot of energy into making this square, and this is actually quite easy to make square because they've had very long lines.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very short line because the nose is so rounded.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the same technique of doing a B-fold here, But after about halfway through our song on our head,
Yes.
we're going to switch locations and go here and make sure it presses flat and square.
Okay,
Just
what's
as
the
you
reason
see.
for that?
Reason is if this here was shifted just slightly this way or this way, there's going to be a gap here.
Okay.
Now, it's not going to affect the way it flies. It's just going to affect the way it looks. So it's not the end of the world, but it's nice to do it straight if you can. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue right in that cavity right here. I'm going to go vertical.
All right.
Hum a song in my head. About halfway through the song in my head, I'm going to transition. I'm even going to use these little grid lines here and make sure that I stay nice and square. I'm going to hold it there for the rest of the time.
Okay.
Table's your friend, just in two different ways. Flat on the table, perfect. Rotate up. Yep. And the more important right now is just to put direct pressure down here.
Okay.
And try to keep it right over top of the paper. If you're pushing down over here, you're actually rolling it up.
Okay.
Now go ahead and flip it flat on the table. See that little adjustment it made for you?
Yep.
Beautiful. This technique can also be used on like the guinea pigs and F-22s, anything that you can turn up and get multiple square angles of. Feel free to do that.
Cool.
This one just had the shortest amount of coupling. All right, this is called a NACA What the NACA does is it actually allows air to go and flow down through and blow through the rest of the fuselage. Now this is very important to keep your ESCs, your battery, things like that cool.
From overheating.
Yep,
Okay.
and you'll see this on a lot of our different designs like the Bloody Wonder, the Bloody Baron. You're gonna see this on all of them. We love them. We're gonna put a little drop of glue here and we're actually just gonna push this down to about a 40-degree angle. Just like that.
Okay.
We're gonna let that dry. Now this one, since we peeled off the paper, it's kind of hard to see. This is going to be an A-fold, just like this.
Okay.
Okay? So why don't you go ahead and do that? You're going to see it fold.
This side here.
Yep.
Okay.
The only difference is this is going to fold a little bit more than a 90-degree angle because we took the paper, but it's exactly what we want. This is more of a point of reference and a little bit of support on the back end, so it doesn't have to be a perfect 90. Just like that.
Okay.
And you can even push it against the table just to make sure it's flat. And just hold it there until it's dry. First tendency we'd want to do, if you guys have built previous ones, is you'd want to start molding this to go around. But I found for some reason you don't need to do that. I don't know really why. All we need to do is glue this portion of the paper here, this portion here. Now it's going to actually kind of be a little bit stiff, so we're going to want to fit this in just to test fit it to make sure everything is in between. See how the end is built in here?
Yeah.
We're going to make a hinge right here. Alright? So once we're happy with that and we know that we can fit this up and in, we're going to put a little bit of glue right here. Now you can see I'm moving away from the foam. I don't want the foam to glue, I just want this piece of paper to glue.
Okay.
We'll actually line up the foam, get it inside those two cheeks, push it all the way up against, and push this down against the table. This is kind of our starting point. It's getting everything nice and square and true, and giving us something that we can pull against without it getting damaged.
Right.
All right, now here comes the fun part. We're gonna, in one step, make the whole front nose of this. And we have this nice little door here, right?
Right.
And make sure that this all wraps around nice and neat, and it does.
We're gonna wrap this all the way around.
All the way around, it's gonna end right here.
Okay.
So make sure you have plenty of glue in your glue gun. And the area that we're gonna focus our glue is gonna be right in that corner here, halfway on the paper, halfway on the foam.
Okay.
We're gonna do a full bead up both edges and a little drop on both sides. Now watch this before you go ahead and follow along with me, all the way to the end. There's one bead there. Whoop. Missed it. One bead there. Little drop there. Little drop there.
Little dab will do you.
Yep. Now make sure we have a nice clean spot here. And grab this. We're gonna pull this up and over.
And it's not gonna break.
It's not gonna break. That's why we remove the paper.
Nice.
And now we're just gonna take these with our fingers here and here. Hold this nice and down nice and tight. We're going to put a little bit of pressure inside like this. And what I've been keeping is I've been keeping pressure on this back end here to keep this tight around this whole entire area. See how nice and clean that makes it?
Yeah.
So now once you're happy with it, go ahead and just hold there. Sing to You Are My Sunshines.
Okay.
Not out loud. All right, perfect. Okay, next step, take this there.
All right.
Drag that down right through that line right there.
Like this.
Perfect, yep.
Like nice or just...
Nice. You open up the cavity, but don't break the paper on the other side. That's perfect.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Like that.
Yeah.
It looks ugly.
It looks ugly, but it's not going to be seen.
Okay. Is
right.
that good?
Mm-hmm. Do you ever molded foam before?
No.
Okay, I'm just going to start it for you, and then you're going to go the rest of the way. We wanted this to go here. This is going to actually fit down in that cavity here and push up against it. That's just for strength.
All right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. But that's quite a curve, isn't it?
Yes.
We're going to take our 2 thumbs and our fingers behind, and we're going to just use the table as our friend once again. And we're going to actually just walk our thumbs up just to this area here, and we're going to build a curve. Go ahead and do that one more time here, starting from the root and going up here. Perfect. And just go up and hold it at a side profile, Josh, so people can see the curve in it. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to put a bead of glue right on this portion here, on the outer surface where the paper is still. That's the foam. And one bead of glue here. Another bead of glue here. Just slide this right down in here. And with you molding it the way you did, you don't have to fight that anymore. It just slides right into place. Now you can put all your energy into making sure that the sides are nice and smooth. If you let this dry while it's kind of sticking out, this is going to be looser. If you squeeze it too tight, it's going to be too tight.
Yeah.
Loose is what we want to avoid. You did that fantastic. This is the best nose we've ever done.
Well, thank you.
No problem. All right, this is nice and dry now. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to lay this on the table. And I'm going to just glide my razor blade right down here. Pull it on both sides.
All the way through?
All the way through. So you see 2 indication marks here and here. At this point, you can take a razor blade and cut it across, or if you have a long enough razor, you can actually just bridge those 2 gaps and then pull it, just like that. It's not perfect. You can even take a piece of sandpaper and sand it.
Okay.
Okay. Want to do the honors?
Yes. So it slides right on, huh?
It should be a nice rigid fit. A little too rigid?
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you a trick.
Okay.
Pull that out for a second. You put that glue all around it, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and just roll the insides of this here. Open these up. Just like that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do the same thing with the one core that we just did. I'm going to roll these in. Just like this. Just use my thumb and kind of push this down in here. Now what you should have, they should receive each other real nicely.
Cool.
It's amazing what a tolerance you can get with foam board, isn't it?
There we go. Nice.
Beautiful. Cool. If you get used to doing this, you can actually get a fit that's every bit as tight as a manufactured EPO model. It's amazing.
Cool.
All right, we're on to our next step. Before we do so, let's go ahead and trace out those inner lines with hot glue and put it aside so it dries.
Okay.
Same process as before. Very, very small amount of glue. Let it get to about half tackiness and then wipe off as much as you can.
Half tackiness is a technical term.
For being half tacky. Try to reach the half-life of its adhesiveness. Use the other side there and just make sure we don't have any glue globules. Technical word. We don't want to stick this on right now.
Okay.
Because it would glue there. So let's go ahead and put this aside.
All right.
And the core side, we'll put our attention towards the boom and the tail.
Okay, so now we're ready for the boom.
Yep.
And the tail.
There comes the boom.
There comes the boom.
Now the neat thing about this is actually longer than you need.
Okay.
But you can build a bigger wing and actually extend this to learn how
cool.
Center of gravity, how that all is affected by the length of your tail, and also how controls are affected when your plane is shorter coupled or stretched out a little bit. For the kit, you're going to want these pieces cut out and ready to go. We're going to remove foam here, 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 and here.
Okay.
Also,
what about this?
You can punch that out. Just love that. Also, let's go ahead and remove foam here, here, and here.
It's a little guy.
It's a little guy. Be careful. Actually, use your blade and score cut this just to get a nice clean groove. One thing also to mention is foam board can give you paper cuts. So take your time when handling it. Don't run your fingers along sharp edges. Just normal practice. You wouldn't do that on a sharp piece of poster board either. We're going to take these coffee stirs. Now in your kit, it may be white or black. Don't worry, it's the exact same. But we're going to center these up, and we're going to place a bead of glue down each cavity. But we're going to stop about a 1/2 inch shy of each edge. And we're going to press fit, centering this up right down the middle. Just as you see right here. And all these are is coffee stir sticks. You can find these at a Dollar General. You can find them at a grocery store. They're very cheap, very economical, but they work wonderful as both antenna tubes and push rod guides. The last one here, oh, there it is. Same process. Good to go here. We've removed the foam here, 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 and here. Now on your plans, these are going to be blue etch marks in this area. That's not a crease mark. That's actually an indication line for these doublers to go over to support the push rods. So this is an A-fold.
Yes.
A side plate's above the bottom plate.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. And this is by far the most important thing to get square and true.
And it's very long.
Very long. So we're going to do a couple tricks here. We're going to make sure that we have no obstructions. We don't want to be doing a half off, half on.
Right.
Another thing you can also do, so you can actually, when it comes time to hold this, you can push this up against the wall just as you see right here.
Yeah.
Like so.
Okay.
Just make sure that your wall is straight and true. If it's a wall I've built, don't use it. So we're going to go ahead and put a nice healthy bead of glue right down. This is going to be on the inside, so you don't have to worry about it jamming things up. But the biggest thing is we want nice hard pressure against this to make a straightest, crispest edge possible.
Okay.
If this is too fat, it's going to be very difficult to get it into the core.
Okay.
All right, how about if I do the first one, you do the second?
Okay.
All right, bead of glue.
Right in the corner.
Right in the corner. Okay. Always check before every time you pull the trigger to start a step, you have plenty of glue sticks in. Believe it or not, we've only used one glue stick.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push hard right down against the table.
You want to check your angle?
I do. Thank you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. See, I was off, wasn't I?
Mm-hmm.
It's way off. What do you say we go over to the wall here?
Okay.
Here we go.
Did you build this wall?
No, thank goodness.
We're good then.
We're good to go. We're going to push this up against the wall and let it finish drying. All right, next one's your turn.
Okay. No pressure or anything.
No pressure.
On this corner here.
You got it, brother.
Okay.
Nice work. Yep.
Goes above.
Yep, let's go ahead and rotate this down. That way we can keep the table as our friend.
Okay.
So again, we're just focusing a lot of our energy making sure it's hard against the table.
Right.
So with A folds, the side plate will stay against the table. With B folds, the bottom plate will stay against the table.
Okay.
Let's go on to our next step here. We're actually gonna put together our rudder and our elevator.
Okay.
Guess what? It's already together. But we do need to cut a hinge line.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and just carefully open up the hinge line to 50% score cut. It's a little bit too tight, which it was. You can always run down it one last time, just so you don't crinkle the paper. And you're gonna open up like so. Why don't you go ahead and do yours? Nice. Now comes the cutting the hinge lines. Now this is something you can practice on a piece of scrap foam all the time you want, and take your time with this, but also you can use a sanding block to accomplish this as well. But what we want to do is we want to cut a bevel on the elevator here. This is your stabilizer. This stabilizes the plane on the pitch axis. This is your elevator. This is what changes your pitch authority.
Right.
So when it goes up, you go up. When it goes down, you go down. We're going to go ahead and cut the bevel on the elevator side.
So am I going to cut the bevel on the rudder side then?
You got it.
Okay.
This is your fin and this is your rudder.
Okay.
So let's go ahead, and the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure your razor blade's nice and sharp. And I'm going to actually use the bigger razor blade. In the crafty kit you have two different sizes for two different purposes. I'm going to go ahead and extend this about an inch long how it is now. Now I'm not going to cut my hinge line like this because it's very easy for it to wander.
Yeah.
But do you ever see how bicycles, how they have their wheel kicked in front of them?
Mm-hmm.
It changes the stability of it. And it's the same thing with this. We're going to go ahead and cut this at a very shallow angle, keeping the razor just in front of the paper here. The paper is going to be our hinge. So we're going to line this up here. And I'm going to go ahead and do this one here up so you can see it on the camera, but then I'm going to show you how you can do it on the table. So watch both hinge lines here so you get the idea. Go nice and slow, taking my time.
Now, are you like trying to keep the depth of the bevel? Like, are you watching like the edge, this side of the paper here, to try to keep that as consistent as you can?
I'm trying to keep it as consistent as I can, but on the flip side, I'm not too worried about it because I can always go over again. Like, see this area here where it's a little bit built up and a little bit away from the paper?
Right.
That would cause it to bind.
Okay.
So I can always go back after that and just make it consistent.
Kind of shave it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't need to have to get it in one full swoop. And especially if this is the first plane you ever built, this is going to look very pitchy. As long as this can freely move up and down without having to force it, about 30 degrees, you're good to go. Because actual true deflection is only about 16.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So let's go ahead and do it on the other side here.
All right.
We're going to fold this here. I'm going to show you here how you guys can do this actually. Do you want to do it? You're going to let this wander through this way.
Okay.
And then you're going to guide it right along here. The nice thing is you keep your finger pressed up against the table.
Yeah.
And make sure your thumb's out of the way too.
Yes. Like this?
There you go. So this technique can be used to dress up a current cut that maybe you don't like, or it can be used to just do the whole entire thing.
Okay.
The only difference is a little bit dusty. It's very loud on the mic, so we oftentimes don't do it in front of the camera. But I just stretch this around a little plastic container. It's about 120 grit. Just like that.
Okay.
Okay? So very, very simple. You can do your whole entire bevel that way. Every single bevel we ever done.
I went through the paper.
You know what? Doesn't really matter. If you went through the whole entire paper, you know what you do? Take a piece of tape.
Okay.
And tape it back on. Don't worry about a little thing like this. Also, because what we're going to do with our hinge lines next, we'll reinforce that.
Okay, cool.
All right? So, we have paper holding the hinge line, but what happens over time with moisture and everything, it starts to cause the paper to delaminate. We can easily take this bead of glue, and we're going to put our nose of the nozzle right down against where the paper is, and put a really thin ribbon right along that paper. Then we're going to follow up with a scrap piece of foam, like the ones that you punched out.
Yep.
And I'm going to hold this just a little bit inside, and I'm going to actually smear this, and let that come out to both sides of the paper here. So I'm actually putting a glue ribbon along this whole entire area and sealing this whole hinge line.
Yeah.
Now we don't want to close this up. If we close this up, it's going to glue shut.
Right.
Go ahead and set it aside just like you see here.
Okay.
Want to try yours? And you just keep squeegeing it off until it's all off. That's perfect.
Okay.
Now keep spreading that and try to get it as much spread, as much wide and as thin as possible.
Okay.
Perfect. And I like how you kind of close that. You see how you kind of made it like a straight edge there?
Right.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Nice.
Is that good?
Yep.
All right.
We have videos specifically showing how to do this as well. Yep, we're going to sit there and let it dry.
All right.
Once the glue is dry, let's go ahead and make sure that everything moves nice and free, roughly about 30 or so degrees each way. If it binds up here, you're going to be putting strain on your servo. And whether the servo's pushing or pulling, it's not healthy for it. So make sure that everything moves nice and free. If it doesn't, you can always go back and sand or cut out a little bit of the glue. If you have glue globules, so there's that word, down in there, you can pick those out. Okay? So our next step, with the bevel side down and the fin bevel to the right, we're going to go ahead and test this real quick. Boom.
Nice.
Nice tight fit.
That's cool.
All right, we're happy with that?
Yep.
All we need to do is put a bead of glue right here and a little bit right here.
Okay.
And then go ahead and set it right back into that hole. Beautiful.
Yep.
Nice.
All right.
Go ahead and grab that triangle here and make sure it stays nice and square. Yeah, it's kind of difficult there, huh?
Yeah.
What you can do, just turn it 90 degrees.
Okay. On the edge.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. All right, remember this boom we built?
I do.
Let's go ahead and do a test fit on this one.
Okay.
Just pluck this little guy out. That's actually a relief for your control horn to go through.
All right.
And go ahead and set these tabs here, actually go through, and we'll seat right here.
Cool.
You happy with the fit?
Yep.
All right, let's pull it off. Put some glue down.
On either side here.
Yep.
All the way?
About a 1/2 inch both ways. Yep.
Okay.
Here, I'll do one
Okay,
side,
go
you can do
ahead.
the other. Nice work.
All right.
And these are sized differently as well, so it's, you know, you can't really get them backwards.
Right. Okay.
Beautiful. Yep, set that in, and then we'll just press down both sides here.
Okay.
And halfway through your sawing, you can go ahead and lift it up and check it for square against the boom, things like that.
Where's
Right.
my...
Should make it colored, huh?
It disappears.
Look good?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Great work.
Okay.
All right, seems kind of counterproductive because generally we don't put our tails on until the very end.
Yeah.
Reason we're doing it right now is because we're going to be running our control horns and our push rods and everything now. So we need to have that fastened down so we know where everything's going to lay out.
All right.
All right, so let's go ahead and hang this upside down with the tail off the table, just as we see right here. Matter of fact, I'll just sit this right here. This here is going to lay face down right in between those two hash marks, as you see, just like that.
All right.
All right, so why don't you go ahead and spread some glue on the bottom, line it up and glue it down.
Just get sloppy with it.
Yep. That's perfect. That's a perfect amount of sloppiness.
All right.
Yep. And then just let it drop right down in there. Beautiful.
Okay.
And for this area here, I'm going to cut it about a 1/2 inch on both sides. Just as we see right here. And this portion, I'm just going to test fit real quick. It's going to sit down like this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go ahead and put our attention right now to the elevator. And as you can see, where our control horn and our push rod goes is pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to guide this through, and in the kit, we have a Z-bend here. I'll put it by the white so you can see it. We have a Z-bend. If you wonder what a Z-bend is, we have a video showing you how to make that. There's a Z-bend and something called a modified Z-bend. Basically, a modified Z-bend is a Z-bend that hasn't been flattened out. We'll have a link down below for you on the video. We're going to glide this on through. But if you guys have the speed build kit, this is already cut to the size you need, and you're good to go. All right. Now, this is a control horn, and what the control horn does is it takes the movement from the push rod and translates that into a movement to the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the pivot point. It's really important that this is in good shape. So if you're cutting this out of, say, cardstock yourself, make sure it's good and strong.
Okay.
Because this is going to be what guides your plane up and down.
Right.
We're going to go ahead and put this in the very top hole. Let me find something to point to. We're going to put the push rod through the very top hole here. Usually just a little twisting motion is all you need. Should be just snug enough, but then just pop right on through. There we go. Try to make these the exact diameter. Now if you guys want to scratch build this, but you don't want to go through the trouble of making these, we call them elements. We sell 20 packs of these. We have almost everything you need in bulk. But you can just as easily go and get a gift card and cut it up, some thin plywood yourself and cut it up. The whole principle is you want the push rod to be right over the hinge line, and you want it to be roughly about a 1/2 inch up above the surface. So you can cut out your own shape like this if you want, or you can just get a 20 pack of them for $5. All right, let's go ahead and test fit this down here. I'm just going to press this on through, just like you see here.
Right.
See, I have no restriction whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. Now that we've opened up that keyhole, why don't you go ahead and put a little thin bead of glue in there. Perfect. We're going to press this on in. All the way to the stops. Now on the other side of this, you're going to see the glue kind of bubbled up.
Yeah.
Let's smear that smooth. It's dry enough. Alright. Let's go ahead and let this dry. We flipped over the tail now, and we're gonna go ahead and guide this next one here.
Whoa.
I'm gonna try to not poke my friend in the eye. I'm just gonna take the edge of this push rod here. Once again with the Z-bend facing outward, I'm gonna pass it through the bottom. Now, as we flip it over, you're gonna see that we need to make a little bend and guide this into that tube. So I'm just gonna push down on this and push it right into this tube like you see here. And it shouldn't give you too much resistance at all. There we go. Now, the only important thing, we're going to once again go to the furthest out hole here, but we don't want to put too much strain on this push rod, so we're actually going to make sure that our little Z-bend is facing upward like this.
Okay.
Okay? And we're going to pass the push rod through right now. A little twisting motion. And if you guys are worried about Z-bends, I'm going to show you how to make one here in just a second. We have some really good detailed videos, but it's very simple. So there we go. You can see that this is on the top just like this. I'm going to seat this in. There we are. All right, ready to do it?
Yep.
Of all the airplanes we've designed, I think this is probably one of the most fun builds to do with a buddy. So I strongly encourage you, if you have friends to build with, have kids, this is a great project to get everyone in on. It'll make the project go smoother, kind of keep an extra set of eyes, and it's big enough that you really need extra sets of hands. This is one of our largest airplanes that we've designed. While we're back here, why don't we go ahead and put some bracing on the tail while this is drying?
Okay.
Sound good? Grab 2 barbecue skewers for me. So we've already established that this is nice and square and true, and we want to keep it that way. So let's go ahead and take the pointy end of our barbecue skewer, and we'll pass it on through the hole. And you can see I'm going horizontal. But as I go through now, I'm going to go ahead and just put a slight down pressure and go vertical. Now I'm going to go ahead and with a twisting motion, guide this through, and almost use it like a drill bit, and guide this to the point where it's about halfway through the foam.
Okay.
Just like that.
Gotcha.
Now you can see us pulling that tail, pulling that tail, pulling that tail. We pull it crooked, and we're doing exactly what we don't want to do. So let's go back and just check it one more time. We'll try it on this side here to make sure everything is nice and true and square. And that looks good. Go ahead and give me one little drop here. Let's not do both sides until one's dry, and then we can make sure it's square again.
Okay.
Perfect.
It's probably a little too much.
No, that's actually quite good. See how it's kind of settling in there, wrapping around? Once that's dry, we'll go vertical again, check for square, and just give me a little drop right there.
That's nice.
Just spear that in just a little bit. Cool. I'm going to cut this off at the very end here. Once that's dry, we'll go ahead and repeat the process. Obviously, we can't pass it all the way through. So we'll start here. And we'll twist in motion. We'll rock it right up in here. And go ahead and give me a drop there.
Okay. What's the purpose of these rods?
It does a couple things. This is 1 sheet of film thick, so if you get it wet, it could warp on you.
Okay.
But also, this is something to train people on. So crashes are going to be a reality. This can take a tremendous amount of abuse on the tail now with those skewers in there. We use this on planes like the Storch, the Guinea Pig, I believe we've used them on. Lots of different planes. A lot of people use this for bracing, and it gives it that square, true edge. Also, when you're controlling things, it keeps things from flexing.
Okay.
So really, we just want this plane to last a long time. This is a design that you really can have for years to come.
Cool.
We're going to let that thoroughly dry nice and tight where nothing's loose. It's hard as a rock before we cut these off.
Okay.
So we're at the point now where that's drying, we can put our attention towards the servos. And I'm going to grab a Z-bender, and I'm going to grab some pliers and show you a cool trick. Here's your Z-bender.
Thank you.
Now this Z-bender, if you do a lot of scratch building, costs about $20. It's worth every penny if you're going to do this a lot, because you can simply go down and squeeze it. But not everyone's going to have access to that. Not everyone's going to be able to buy that. So let's go ahead and show you how to do a simple Z-bend. With these servos, they're going to be laying flat as a pancake with the leads facing forward, just as we see here. And we're not going to want to go ahead and put a Z-bend that's going to go vertical, because we want to pass through here and transition that motion this way.
Okay.
So we don't want to bend it down, but we want to bend it horizontally.
All right.
I'm going to take the Z-bends here just to kind of give you a model here. And on the very front edge here, I'm going to lay this in with the wire flush with this outer edge. I'm going to squeeze it. Now notice I'm holding this horizontally. If I want to do a vertical bend, I'd hold it vertically. I'm just going to squeeze this, and there's our Z-bend. I'm going to go about 2 inches, or let's say 10 centimeters behind here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to custom bend one. But what you need if you custom bend one is a little bit more material here. If you do it here, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and bend this 90 degrees. And you see that we're actually not really putting much thought into where it needs to be. It's because the servo is going to be glued down whatever's neutral.
Okay.
I'm going to do one 90-degree turn this horizontally.
So it doesn't matter where we put the servo.
Nope. We want it roughly about 2 inches behind the other servo.
Okay.
This is just for this design because of the way everything lays out. On planes like the Mini Scout and everything else, the video will tell you where to put them.
Okay.
You know, but this one actually glues down right where it is. We have our 90-degree bend here. I'm going to reach in only about 1/8 of an inch here. I'm going to bend this up towards me, just like you see here. Now this right here is actually a modified Z-bend. If I cut this loose, it's always a good idea to hold the other end when you cut it. This is what we call a modified Z-bend. Has an end sticking up, and what you can do is you can actually rotate the push rod underneath and it'll pop and engage. But this is going to be sealed and we don't need to worry about adjustment in the future. So I'm going to take my pliers one more time and I'm going to make it look like a normal Z-bend.
Okay.
So I'm going to hold this, I'm going to grab the push rod, and I'm going to just slowly rotate 90 degrees. You can see, just a little less crisp,
Right.
but it looks just like a normal Z-bend.
Well done.
Thank you. So we're going to move on here. We're going to, like I talked about earlier, we're going to actually glue these in with the leads going forward. So this area here has a sticker. That sticker is going to be where it's glued. So go ahead and pick that off.
Okay.
Because we want to glue the servo down, not the sticker down. This one doesn't have a sticker because it's on the opposite side. So this can go forward just fine. But this is fatty. Plastic that's fatty doesn't like to be glued very well. So you can take a piece of sandpaper or a razor blade, scuff it up, or do what Josh is doing and scratch it up. That's going to give the glue something to bite into. Now we made sure that these servos were centered. And once again, if you don't have your servos centered, you don't want to do this step until you have servos number 1, have them centered number 2. And also, we only need to go about a 1/2 inch away from the servo screw. So we're going to actually only use this middle one here. Every servo horn is different. The ones that we sell with our kits, we're going to only use the middle one here. That's roughly a 1/2 inch or just a touch over a centimeter. So we're going to actually install the first servo that's the furthest back, closest to the tail first.
Okay.
Reason being, the other servo is going to overlap it.
Right.
So that servo is going to be this one here. And it seems kind of odd, but the servo that goes against the wall is actually going to be feeding the one across from it. Make sense? All right. So we're going to go ahead and place this servo. And I'm going to go through that middle hole. Now, if you guys got the electronics pack, there's linkage stoppers included, which are really, really great. You don't need linkage stoppers in here, so go ahead and save the weight. And also, once you seal this in, it's really not adjustable. This is actually going to form fit right up against this guy right here. Just like you see, okay? So we're happy with that fit. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and give me a little bit of glue right here and right here.
I'm sorry, where at?
Right here and there.
Okay.
Right where you sanded, and then just a little drop on the very bottom of the servo. Perfect, my friend. I'm gonna lay this down in here. And I'm sorry for my hands being in the way, but now I gotta look at the tail. And I want to move this so the tail is nice and neutral, which looks good right there. So let's go ahead and push this down. I'm gonna hold my finger here, and I'm gonna rotate this up, and we're gonna sight down right down this tail here, just to make sure that it's nice and neutral, and it looks great. A couple clicks of trim isn't bad, but if it was bent way over,
Right.
we'd want to move this.
Okay.
So this is good. Here as we see it. Our next servo is going to be up ahead of it. And that's going to be this one right here. And we've sanded and scuffed that one up as well. We're going to go through this middle hole that you see right here. And the reason we did the back one first is this front push rod actually goes over. That's my dog barking at the coyote. There we go.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. All right, so the reason we did this back one here is we want this here to go
Over
over
top.
this. If we would have shoved this under, then it would change where this push rod is.
Right.
So what you're going to want to do, Josh, is you're going to put a little glue on the back side and the bottom, push it down, and you're going to want to move this until this is nice and neutral.
Okay.
There you go. I'll go ahead and move that. All right, get in close.
Okay.
He really doesn't like that coyote. Nice. Yep. Hard up against the edge. Yep.
Oh, like that.
Yep. You can take something flat, straight edge, hold it on there, and then just make sure, yep, it's up against the wall. Perfect.
Okay.
We really want to keep these as forward as possible. Reason being is any weight that's back here, you could have 1 ounce here and it would take 5 ounces in the nose to counteract it. So we're going to try to keep these as far forward as possible. That's why we put the Z-bend here. And even if you want to keep this closer, that's okay. You know, instead of going 2 inches back, you can go 1.5 inches back. The only problem would be is if this moved forward and collided with the servo.
Okay.
What we found out early in beta testing, hot summer day, lots of deflection, maybe a couple crashes later, these guys started wiggling loose.
Okay.
We don't want that.
Right.
So what we cut out here, and this is actually sized for the smallest servo that we'd recommend flying, and that's like the little micro Metal Gear 5 grams. I don't know who you'd use them, but say someone wanted to save a lot of weight, put little high torque 5 gram servos, this is sized. You'll see that it just needs slightly trimmed, just a touch, in order to work.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and just take about 1/8 inch off on this right here. Just like that. What I want to see is I want to see this slide over with a little bit of friction right over the servo as you see like that.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
What this is going to do is when we put our boom down and our top sheet down, we're going to glue this and that's going to capture that servo completely.
So they won't move at all.
Exactly.
Okay.
So go ahead and just test fit your servo. Make sure that you're happy with the way it works. And if you have to, open it up, sand it, whatever, life is good. So go ahead and give me a little bit of glue and then we'll slide that down over it. I'm gonna go ahead and trim this one.
Bead on
Just that inner.
this too, or just the inner part?
Yep, the bottom and then around there.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
So needless to say, once these servos are in, they're in. If you want to take them out, you're cutting your plane apart.
Right.
They're captive.
So we're ready now.
We're ready. You're committed.
On which side of the arm?
We're going to actually go just underneath the flanges, and I'm going to hold the wire back until this is nice and thoroughly dried.
Like this?
Yep. Push it on down. Perfect. Feel a nice snug fit there? Yep. And you can see I'm holding this wire away from, because I don't want to glue the wire to the glue.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
All right. Nice thing also, this puts a little bit of tension on the wire, so it doesn't allow it to bend as easy. This guy's going to go down right here. I already trimmed it out for you.
Cool.
There you go.
All right.
Beautiful, man. Let's go ahead and move these guys forward and get on to our next step. This is nice and dry now. Let's go ahead and take the side cuts that we used. And by the way, Kevin Teschner, you gave me these years ago and I'm still using them. Thank you. There we are. And there we are.
Okay.
All right. So now we got to cover up this whole mess, right? This here is our bottom plate. We've already removed the foam on both sides, and you'll notice on your plans or on the kit, this is actually a score cut.
Yeah.
The reason we have this here is trying to put glue and then mush everything down. There's a good chance to get this all wrong.
Jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky, yeah. All poorly done. Crooked, whatever you want to call it. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up this very back edge right here, as you see. Or the front, it doesn't really matter. But we're going to go ahead and set this down into place all the way up to the very front.
Okay.
Make sure we have a fit that we really like. That feels really good. Now, with this laying nice and flat on a table, making sure that it's not twisted, this is the last chance to straighten out something that's crooked.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and just take a second and sight down that. You're going to want to make sure to take this very front edge and make sure it doesn't look like what you see right now. You're going to want to rotate this until it's square. So that's why we're going to do one half at a time.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and we'll peel up this front half first. Fold it open. Now we're going to focus our glue on the paper here, here, but we're also going to put a bead here and here. And make sure these guys aren't in the way.
Yeah.
All right, want to do that? That's one. Nice. Nice.
Okay.
So let's go ahead in here, and then this is going to be the easiest spot to key it in. So we're just going to press that down. I'm just going to take this little Emax box here, and force fit it down in there. All right, so let's go ahead and grab that square one more time. I'll let you hold that up there. Press it against there. And so as always, make sure that you check for square every single time. So this back end is loose. We still have opportunity to make any final adjustments, but this is our last chance.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and flip this up. Let's go ahead and place our glue down.
Okay, just on the paper there?
Yep, right on the paper, and there's nothing in the back to do, so
okay.
I'll move that forward for you. Go ahead and give me a little dab right there in the center. When those join, they can be glued back together too.
Okay.
Beautiful. All right, here we go. You can do this with your hands too. It's just that glue is hot. All right, let's go ahead and flip this over now and use the table as our friend. And this is a time where we can really look at everything and make sure nothing's twisted and everything is nice and flat. And pushing it against a flat table is a really good way to make sure everything's true. Now we've done two things. We've built our boom and our tail, but we also have our servos ready to go.
Yeah.
The neat thing is if we move on from this and we're doing a 3-channel wing, the only thing left to do is build our motor mount.
Cool.
And then we're on to hooking up our electronics.
Nice.
So it's a very quick build if you're doing the basic model. Our boom and tail are now done.
All right, cool.
Let's go ahead and move on to the power pod. As we mentioned in the opening, this airplane can run off of 2 different size motors.
Yeah.
Our B power pack, which is running this little guy here, it's 2822. It's just about a 400, 370 size, somewhere in between there. It can swing up to a 9-inch prop. This is really good for a 3-channel setup, for soaring, for easy flying, for long flight times. If you want to keep it light and slow and as a good trainer. The C power pack is a lot more beef. We actually used to nickname it the beef. But this can swing up to a 10-inch prop with no problem. We're only going to outfit it with a 9 because a 9-inch prop is the biggest you can go, but it can swing a 9.6, which is another nice thing about this design. You can swing a much bigger prop than normal.
Yeah.
So because of the way this mounts on there, we have 2 different mounting methods, but we want to actually move everything with the CG to get the best airflow. So we redesigned the FT element firewall to something that looks like this.
Okay.
It's a little bit stronger, a little bit better. We've learned a lot since then. It's keyed in. That way, if you have something like a C power pack, you actually have room to guide the wires down through the bottom. And this is great for even for people's scratch builds too. And this actually, the shaft, push right through the back, and then it'll screw on like so.
Okay.
Now for the B power pack, it doesn't mount that way. We wanted to account for both of them. So what we did is we actually have these screw holes here, and then this enables it to mount like so, and then the wires can go underneath it.
Okay.
All this builds around this guy here. But before we go ahead and build this, we need to build this.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do that right now.
All right.
Go ahead and pop out those pieces for me, brother. While he's popping out the pieces, if you guys bought a B or C power pack, it includes 2 screwdrivers in it. You got your Phillips head and you got a 1.5 millimeter. The 1.5 millimeter is perfect to loosen the 2 Allen keys right here and here to pop this off. This is what we're going to be screwing to the firewall.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and pop this together. First step is we'll use our table as our friend. We'll go ahead and set this down in here, a little rocking motion. It's nice and snug. You can hear that little click there. Make sure it's down nice and flat, and it is. Let's go ahead and press this one on here. Now this just keys on the side, so we're just going to put most of our attention to this guy right here. Once you got it started, you can just move it on the table and clip it down in. It's going to be a nice tight fit. What we actually did here is we have about 1/10 of a millimeter arc on this piece of wood right here, so it actually puts a nice bit of pressure to keep joints tight.
Okay.
If this was loose, this wouldn't give you a very strong glue joint.
Right.
So let's go ahead and put the last one on here.
Okay.
So what Josh is doing here is he's actually just taking some instant CA and he's tracing the inside edges and letting it seep into the crack. So you can see this lines up perfectly right over the holes. Just set them. Push it into place. We'll screw it in. Now I recommend not just screwing the first one down hard and leaving it. Go ahead and get it almost all the way down and then starting the next one. So that way you have some adjustment to coast in. Now it doesn't hurt since you have 4 pilot holes and 4 screws to put all 4 in. This is going to be pushing it. But keep in mind, vibration is not our friend. So if this gets loose, and you get a vibration. If you're carrying a camera or doing anything that requires smooth flight,
Yeah.
it's not going to be very nice to it. So for some reason I see a lot more pusher planes that have loose motors on them. So just make sure it's nice and snug.
Okay.
So while Josh is putting the last 2 screws in, we're going to want to clear out some cavities on the power pod. It's going to be here, 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 here. Let's punch it out now.
We're going to punch that out?
We're going to punch it out.
Oops,
There you go. It's okay, I turned it the right way, so I didn't do it this time. All right, and while we're at it, we're also going to remove the piece of paper right here. So as you can see, our cavities have been removed. And we also
Like a
peeled the
dentist.
paper. Like a dentist. There we go. So just like we did on our original core area, we're going to go ahead and do the same process. We're going to do a B-fold here. But before we do the other B-fold, we're going to mount our motor and we're going to get everything lined up.
Okay.
And just to show you guys here before we start, you're going to see 2 indication lines here. It's going to be on your plans as a blue line, but also it's an etched line here on the speed build kit. This is going to be the thrust angle that we need to give the proper characteristics for the motor.
Okay.
If you had this sitting perfectly normal, what would happen is as you gave more throttle, the nose would pitch down.
Right.
So we're actually angling it to push the tail down as you give more throttle, so it gives kind of a leverage action so it doesn't cause any pitching issues.
Okay.
We found the perfect angle is this. If you guys are designing, the reason we made this replaceable is so you can swap out motors, but you can also experiment with different motor sizes, pitch angles, things like that.
Oh, cool.
Okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and throw some glue down and give me a B-fold right here. Once again with the B-fold, the bottom is going to stay on the table and the side is going to fold up, giving you a nice crisp edge. Go ahead and actually put it on the other
Sorry,
side.
wrong,
That's okay.
wrong side.
So if you do put it on the wrong side by accident, just be a little bit more diligent in pushing down. You'll be just fine. Perfect. Yeah, put a nice pressure straight down against the table. You're looking for the
invisible triangle.
yeah, we really should have made that color, huh? There you go. A little bit more vertical. There you go. Perfect. Let's hold that in place. So now, we don't want to go ahead and just put this and guess where it's going to be. Let's go ahead and mount the motor, tighten it down. And I like my leads actually pointing straight down so they actually tuck underneath it.
Okay.
And you can see here on this element wall, we actually have this area where you can even zip tie it if you really wish. With it being like this, you're going to be just fine and you can actually service this very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. Be careful with these. If you over tighten them, what will happen is it'll actually pinch on the bearing and cause it to be tight. So you'll definitely know that you're nice and snug. If you're really worried, put a little bit of a blue Loctite in there. But that's not going anywhere and it spins nice and free.
Okay.
So we went ahead and mounted the prop that's included with the B-pack, and that is a 845 prop.
Okay.
And we pushed this all the way down against its stop. Now we're going to go ahead and make a decision on how far we need to go in. And what I want to see is roughly a ½ an inch from the very edge, just like that.
From this edge to the prop.
From that edge to the prop. We want to make sure that the prop is about a ½ inch out. And keep in mind, whenever you put your props on, the numbers are facing forwards. So if you have your numbers facing like it's a tractor prop, they would be facing towards the spinner. In this case, it's always going to face towards the nose of the airplane.
Okay.
Now I'm happy with that. We can take I think I can just take my thumb and just make a little mark if we want. Just where we want it indicated to push back to it.
Okay.
Smear that around, line it up. Now I'm going to be doing a C motor here too, so you guys will be able to see this when we do our 4-channel wing as well. And so you'll be able to see how both goes. With the C motor, this is actually completely flush with the very edge of the foam board because the motor sits behind.
Okay.
Now, in one step, we're going to put glue for the B-fold, and also we're going to put glue here. And we're going to finish off this power pod just like this.
Okay.
And we're going to definitely make sure it's 90 degrees. Cable's your friend on the bottom. Beautiful. Well, we'll just go ahead, glue both of them in, and then use something flat and press it down in. Just use this little box here. There we go.
It's a good looking power pod.
Good looking power pod. Nice thing also is if God forbid you wreck this, or say over time, you want to swap out motors, you don't have to rebuild the whole entire fuselage. You just have to rebuild a little portion of it. And on our store, we're going to, of course, have replacements for the core, the power pod, and the nose. And then as more people design and we design more platforms to go around this, we'll have options to go with it.
All right.
Do you remember how you're doing a little
thumb mark
thing? This is your leading edge where the hole's closest is our starting point. So go ahead and work this back to about 1/2 inch beyond the hole. Nice. It's always an important thing to kind of test fit things before you put them in.
Yeah.
Especially when it involves bending foam. Last thing you want to do is burn your fingers. Looks like just keeping something nice and straight.
That's good.
Kind of do the hot work for you, right? You want to grab your blade and extend it as far as you can, and then just trim it. Start a little nick here and nick there. Complete the cut. Just hold them across like that.
Okay, yeah.
Perfect, man.
Okay.
Excellent. Now, you can make your connections for your ESC. You can slide it on through, and then that's going to actually guide right up to where your battery is going to be, and you don't need any extensions to get the full extent. Now, this is off of our B pack and our C pack. If you have a different motor you're putting on, it may be a little different. But this is ready to test fit. You want to do it?
Yeah.
Pop that down in.
Nice.
Looks good. You know, once
Okay.
you run the skewer through the wing,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that's going to actually punch through
Okay.
and head there. If you're really concerned about this trying to tilt up on you, just put an additional one right on the back there. One reason we don't want to glue this in is we want to have the ability to remove this out to swap out motors. But also the way we size this up is it can actually be reconfigured. Here's our tail we just built. That can actually slide in. We could have this elevated here. We could put a nose on here. We could make an amazing sailplane out of this.
Right.
Or we could pull this or leave this on the way it is. We could put twin engines on it. We could run a crazy different tail on it. Or we could just leave it off and do something crazy like what Peter's doing over here. But the moral of the story is we want this to be the core that you can actually interchange things.
Yeah.
Now this is even sized to the width of the power pod, so you could actually slide a power pod and cut it and customize it and make this a tractor. You could put 3, 4, 5 motors on it.
Cool.
It's really whatever your imagination allows you to do. Our goal is to get you to try something, study the effects, and learn from it. Let's go ahead and put this together to show them what it looks like.
All right.
All right, let's see. We'll slide this in here. Now, depending on the thickness of the foam at that day, how you built it and everything, it's going to be how tight this guy's going to be.
Yeah.
Now this actually slides in very nicely. Now, but if it didn't, we have a hole cut in the boom and a hole cut in the main core area that will line up. This is going to give you the optimum setting for our 3-channel and our 4-channel versions. You can extend it or reduce it and study the effects, but this will kind of give you the best chance for good balance and good coupling on what we're building.
Right.
But also it gives you access to pass wires through or top wires down through as well. It also gives you access if you're doing something crazy with the top mount boom to pass wires through as well. If this was too fat and too tight, before you jam it all the way in, remove it, take it to the edge of the table, and then with a nice even pressure,
Careful.
make the foam nice and dense. in that
Careful.
area. It's fine, it's not going to hurt it. Make that foam nice and crisp, but just crush it in ever so slightly. Go back in, and all you're doing is you're just kind of compressing it just a little bit.
Okay.
And that'll give you what you need to make it glide nice and smooth. You don't want it to be too loose where it removes it. If it is too loose, just drive a skewer through it, making sure you don't hit the servos. You want it to be just friction fit so you can push it in and out.
Okay.
Also, if you're putting it in a small car, you can disassemble it. So, we got that. Let's
All right.
grab your nose real quick. You got your nose.
Got you know.
There you go.
All right.
Got your little wires there.
Oh. Nice.
There we are.
Cool. It's coming together.
The only thing we're going to have left to do is to put our ESC and connect our receiver. We're going to do that after the wing's all done.
Okay.
All right? So like we said before, this can run off of both the C pack or the B pack.
Yeah.
We just showed you how to do the B pack. The C pack is very similar, and we've already pre-built this, except instead of mounting on the outer surface here, the motor's actually going to mount, wow,
Don't drop it.
don't drop it, on the inner surface
Okay.
like this. And that's why the new style has this bolt pattern right here.
Right.
So all we need to do is pass this through on the bottom, and then we need to line up the screws and then pop it on through.
Okay.
Want to do that?
Sure.
Now on the C-Pack, while he's doing that, it comes with extra hardware. We're only going to need the prop collet that you see here. This extra hardware is for 99% of our other swappables, and you actually remove the front plate and this bolts onto the front of the motor, and then the shaft that we're going to be using for the collet in this build actually passes through the firewall. That's why you have that. If you guys have any questions about that, we have lots of pictures in the articles below on the PowerPod build. So we don't need these. You can save those for future builds. If you're ever building a swappable in the future, you have that with your CPAC kit. Now the FT Explorer in stock configuration can go all the way up to a 9-inch prop, which is really nice for FPV and more powerful setups.
All right.
Nice work. So this is where the collet that's in our motor pack is going to slide on here, and then this will hold your prop. Once this is tightened down, this will tighten, and then it'll grip that shaft.
Great.
Normally this portion here is what screws on, and then the X mount holds onto the firewall. If you did it this way, this would be so far back, it wouldn't be very strong, and you'd be throwing a lot of energy and a lot of weight. Nice thing is now is all the air coming through the air scoop will cool down the motor very well.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and glue this in here to our power pod. Same process as before, we'll just go ahead and clear out this area. And the reason I put that collet on the front was because we need to make sure that the prop is not going to strike it. And as I said earlier in the video, this firewall actually goes flush with the edge of the motor mount. So I'm going to temporarily install the 9.6 prop here. 2 reasons. We want to make sure we place this in the proper direction, and always keep in mind with the pusher, the numbers are always going to face towards the nose of the airplane, the direction it's flying. So that's why the prop may look backwards here, but it's actually proper here. So we have that. If you want to, you can take a zip tie and you can zip tie these up. I'd strongly recommend that you hold off on that until you get the ESC connected the way you want it. This won't ever grip the prop, and you can always fasten your ESC down later, but that is an opportunity for you in the future to zip tie that down. We have an etch mark right here that establishes our thrust line, and that's 90 degrees to this here. It's actually in a slight angle up that we talked about before, and we're just going to go ahead and line this up and verify this is where we want it.
So you make it flush with the edge of the foam?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now this one here, if we went all the way down here like it was on the B-Pack, this would be striking.
Right.
So it doesn't hurt to actually, form fit this and check this out. But for a 9-inch prop, we're going to go all but 1 thickness away from the top. So it's almost going to be centered here and just be 1 thickness of foam away up here. I'll turn this around so you can see it. We're going to take this right up almost to the top, like you see like that. And this is going to help us establish our line. Beautiful. Nice work.
Look all right?
Yep.
Okay.
As you can see on the very top here, you got about 1 thickness of foam, just so this can cover it up. All right, let's go ahead and do the other B-fold here. We're going to go ahead and put glue here and here, and then fold these over together.
Okay.
Make sure it's nice and square. Yep, and give it a little pinch right on both sides of the firewall. While Josh is holding that in place, I'm going to go ahead and clear out the foam just like we did on the B-Pack. If you want to punch it, go ahead. There you go.
Thank you.
No problem. It's kind of like bubble wrap, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's addictive. Just want to punch something. I sang like 19, You Are My Sunshines.
You did. Let's go ahead and finish this off. A bead of glue here and a bead of glue here, all exactly the same as the B-Pack. And while he's gluing that down, I'm going to go ahead and peel this off. So one thing that wouldn't hurt, you can actually fly both models and both wings here, is to trace this out and build both motor styles. And that way if you want to fly nice and slow in a small backyard or so around you can, or you can pop on the sport wing and you can fly much faster. So one thing, you won't feel the temperature of the glue through the foam, but you will through the paper. So just keep that in mind when you're pushing down these areas here.
It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot. So there we have it. We now have our C-style motor and our B-style made. Now you're going to be building a 3-channel wing. I'm going to be building a 4-channel wing later on. So now we'll actually be able to fly together.
Sweet.
All right, let's move on to the wings.
Yeah.
The first wing we're going to start with is going to be the easiest wing, and that's going to be the 3-channel wing. There's no ailerons, no movable flaps. It's just like the Simple Soarer. Actually, it carries almost the exact same lines as the Simple Soarer, but the build process is a little bit different and a little bit stronger. We may even go back to the Simple Soarer and change the wing over to this one because it performs and holds up a lot better.
Oh, really?
So let's go ahead and pop out our pieces.
Okay.
All right. So we have all our pieces, don't we?
Yes.
Let's go ahead.
Do we?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and put these two aside right now and put our energy towards the spars.
Okay.
Now we're learning a lot about folding things over and how much strength it brings in, and a lot of the newer designs actually have this technique. It's really been great for us. So we're going to want to remove the foam board between here, here, and here, and be careful because this actually has a full cut through right there. So you don't want to rip it.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do that. You can trace it out, or you can just pop it. It's whatever you want. You just want to make sure it's nice and clean. I'm going to fold this 180 degrees just like that. Just kind of roll this right off. Now you notice that the gap is a little bit wider? Mm-hmm. That's because it's not going to actually fold to a 90, it's going to fold to 180.
Ooh.
We actually sometimes refer to this as a C fold because it kind of looks like a C. And after A and B comes C.
That's
deep,
true.
huh? That's
That
deep,
is true.
isn't it?
Yeah. Mind blown.
I'll go ahead and do this one real quick. Once again, every time you start a new sub-assembly, if you have some scrap Dollar Tree foam board laying around, it never hurts to trace out your parts before you put them together. You can have an endless supply of wings and tails and fuselages and motor mounts.
Noses.
I'm just trying to stall because it's taking longer than I thought right here.
Wheel pants.
No, there's no wheel pants in this kit. There could be wheel pants in this kit. That'd be kind of cool.
Are there wheel
wouldn't it?
pants in other kits?
There are.
Well, if they trace those, then they'll have an endless supply of wheel pants.
You're just all over it, aren't you? All right, so we're done peeling out our pieces. We have a gap here, here, and here. All right, let's go ahead and do these two together here, and we'll do this one last. So we want to actually fold this like so. And to do that, we're going to put our glue in this area here. And then we're also going to put it down in each inner cavity. But just so we don't pick it up and get glue on our fingers, let's do the inner cavity first,
Okay.
and then this top area.
Right.
I'll go ahead and do mine, then you do yours.
Okay.
Always check before every step that you have plenty of glue on your glue gun. If you need to put another stick, go ahead and do that, or have a stick nearby. And then I'm going to go ahead and just smear this down. There you go. And while he's putting glue on, I'm going to start here against the table, push straight down, just like so. Get that edge established right here. Now I'm going to put my pressure right on the top, nice and flat.
All right.
All right. You're gonna do the exact same process on the other side. This this crack is gonna come into play in just a second.
So you skip the crack.
You skip the crack.
Oh. That's good advice.
If you step on a crack, the plane won't fly very well. Is that how it goes?
I think that's how it goes, yeah. It's not supposed to rhyme.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. Press down on that for me. This is gonna be our dihedral gauge. We're gonna make sure that we don't lose this little piece.
That came out of the kit?
That came out of the kit.
Okay. It came out of the wing piece that we just popped out?
And there's one on each kit, the 4-channel and the 3-channel. That way, if say we find a different angle that's better, we can actually proactively just change it without changing both of them. Beautiful, man. All right, let's go put those aside. These are going to be our spars. This is going to be the center portion, and then these areas here are actually going to be our outer panels.
Okay.
All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and lay this out the way it's going to come together, just like that. Now, if you're buying the kit, you're going to notice that it's folded on a main hinge line. That's going to be the score cut that we're going to want to bevel. But for anyone scratch building, let's go ahead and just point it out. This hinge line right here, or this score line, is a double bevel. This here and here are creases. So just go ahead and lay your wings out to the right orientation to match that. Because if you cut the bevel on the wrong side, it's not going to work for you.
Okay.
All right. So we got our bevel. Let's go ahead and cut it. Same process as doing a hinge line, except it's going to be on both sides. All right. Same process as before. A nice long angle. And Josh, you know what I think I'm going to do with you? I'm going to give you, remember that sanding block we just used?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you do it with a sanding block so they see how to do it with that.
Okay.
So if you cut across the middle line, don't worry too badly. It's just put a little piece of tape on it and it'll be just fine. So there's our single edge. We're now going to cut a bevel on the other edge. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge here. I'm just going to start right where that double fold is. And take my time. You can go back over and over again if you need to. The important thing is when you cut your double bevels, you want this to easily be able to bend up to at least a 90 degree, if not just a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, by doing a little bit more and stuff, it's going to make that nice, smooth transition here. So I'm just going to kind of bend it back to a 45. All right, so let's get you the sandpaper. That way, if anyone doesn't want to use a razor blade, they can do sandpaper. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and flip it over and do the other side.
Okay.
Nice work, man. Let's go ahead and check this out. You can see where your ring was.
Uh-oh.
So you can see here, that's pretty darn good. You can bend that down to about a 45-degree angle. Great work.
All right.
All right, so we got both our bevels. Our next step is we're going to join our two wings. So go ahead and flip that over. These guys lined up in the back. And we're going to glue the two wings together, but it's very difficult to do that without holding it in place. So I'm going to rip off. I'm going to give you a little inch-long piece. I'm going to take an inch-long piece. And you go ahead, and I'm going to line this up and just tack down that leading edge here. I'm going to lift this up just a little bit, kind of get it underneath that flap. There we are.
Okay.
Good. And then in the back. Good. Beautiful.
Okay.
Now that's held in, we can go over and do the whole entire piece. It's very difficult to do that, you know what I mean, in one step because they like to shift on you.
Yeah, right.
All right. All right, let's go ahead and flip it over.
All right.
Now this portion here is going to crush. If we try to put in glue in here, it's not going to do us any good. We're going to want to put glue on this main section here and just a little bit right here.
All right.
So go ahead and open up that cavity for me. Seem to be pretty generous, huh?
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Okay. Set it back down.
Yep, glass down. Just gonna grab a little piece of scrap foam.
Globules.
There we are. And I'm just gonna grab this and just tip it over. There we go.
This one too?
Oh yeah, why not?
I don't know. That's what I was asking.
I say you should.
Okay.
Perfect. Excellent. Now we're going to let this dry. Hum a couple songs in your head for this one. If this is tacky or you move it and it lines up crooked, it's not going to help you in the future. So our glue is nice and dried now. Let's go ahead and put our attention into the spars. Now you can see that we have 3 sections of spar, just like this. The section that has the full-blown score cut is going to get glued face down in
Right in
between,
the middle?
right in the middle between those 2 edge lines.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that right now.
Generous?
Yeah, doesn't hurt to be generous.
Never.
Nice. So if you guys are wondering what's going on behind me, Peter is building a huge circle plane. How many circle planes have you built, Peter?
This is the third one.
Third one. All right, there we go.
The second one.
Now if you guys see here, this is actually notches down and it's centered between the 2 lines. Once that's glued down nice and firm, we're going to match up where the paper is, which is on the leading edge, and we're going to glue these right up against the other ones. So if you have any kind of pieces of glue, just fleck them off right now. Okay, so I'm going to put some glue here to join up, and then right down the side. Push this hard against it, and then split the difference right in the middle between those 2 lines. Here you go, Josh. Sorry about that.
All right.
Now it doesn't hurt if you don't have a gun that can put out a lot of glue. It doesn't hurt to buy 2 hot glue guns and keep them on hand, because what will happen is if you have a hot glue gun that has a smaller wattage, it won't be able to produce the amount of glue that you need. And on long wings like this, it's really important to not run out of glue.
Right.
Ready for the next step?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Go ahead and take this barbecue skewer, and right where these two score lines are, just go ahead and just put the tip in about maybe 1/8 of an inch, and just drag it. We're just going to open up just a little bit, the sharp tip. You got it.
From all the way to the edge.
Yep. Okay. Now, not all of our airplanes that we do this right off the bat before we fold this over. This is one wing where we're gonna. So if you're building planes like the Tiny Trainer, things like that, don't just automatically assume that this step is needed for it. Nice. Let's go ahead and do a test fit now. Alright, so we're going to take this, and this is where building with a buddy is really helpful. Let's go ahead and fold this over. We did our job right. This should be able to be pressed nice and flat against the bottom. You feel how it's not rocking, but it's nice and firm? That's exactly what we want. Now when we press down, we don't want to press in this area here, or we're going to shoot a wrinkle.
Okay.
We want to use our fingertips and press right over the spar.
Right.
Now that feels really nice, but before we go ahead and glue this down, let's go ahead and make this reinforced. And to do that, I'm going to take the tip of my hot glue gun nozzle, making sure I have plenty of glue, and we're going to go right down
into the scores.
the score. So we're going to press glue in there. It doesn't have to be a ton. Let's go ahead and do the other side. Now if you guys don't have enough hot glue to deliver this much glue, just do one score at a time. Right down, right over top of it. And let's go ahead and fold that over. Ready? Now we're going to make sure our trail edge is flat against the table, and that we're emphasizing a lot of pressure right over the spar. Once this is dried, you should be able to open this up, and you'll notice now that it keeps its curve. It's quite strong.
Yeah.
You've added a lot of strength here. You keep the warping down, and it will make the wing last even longer. So let's make sure we have plenty of glue still in the hot glue gun.
Right.
Let's put a bead of glue right down the leading edge here. And then the main spar. We're going to hold off on this trail edge, and we're going to flip it over after this is thoroughly dried and do that.
Okay.
Here you go.
Right in here.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the main spar. You really need a glue gun that can put out a lot of glue. Said if you have the smaller ones and you don't have a big glue gun like this, just pick up two. This is only a $40 glue gun. It'll last you a lifetime. All right, let's go ahead and press this down. Now we're going to put all of our energy right over this main spar area. We're not going to so much worry about the back end.
All right.
All right, you can see when we release this, it didn't spring up. That's exactly what you want to look for. You don't want to see it spring up. If it springs up immediately,
Especially when it's flying.
Exactly. Make sure you're pushing down on it nice and firm when you release it. If the glue is thoroughly dried, it won't spring back on you like that. All right, so making sure there's no glue globs or anything that's going to dent the foam.
Okay.
Flip this over delicately on its back. And then all we're going to need to do is press the tip of the hot glue gun right underneath here. We're going to run a bead right down the whole side. There we are. All right, let's just delicately press down on the back here. So one thing you don't want to see right here, if this is bowed up, like if this rocked on this portion here, that wouldn't be a good thing. But the fact that this is laying nice and flat means this wing is very true, very square, that you're not forcing anything. And that's really what we want to see with a nice square butt wing. If it is rocking a little bit, don't stop here, don't go back and try to rip it apart. The plane will fly good. It's just something you want to check as you do future builds to kind of get the best quality possible.
Okay.
Now it's time to put some polyhedral in it. So we're going to actually put the hedral here, here, and here.
Okay.
But we're going to put our main energy on the center one first.
All right.
Okay? So let's go ahead and grab our little gauge here. And the first thing we want to do is we want to open up this cavity. Just like that. Where's your little barbecue skewer that you had?
Where did
I think it's sticking in your razor blade. Just kind of open it up just a little bit. Okay. Nice.
Okay.
So what that is going to do, it's going to give us the ability to fold this up. Now don't worry about this crinkling a little bit because that area is going to be cut out. We're going to want to go ahead and fold this up just about right here. And where this gauge is going to go, it's going to be right under the wing in this portion right here.
All right.
Like that.
Okay.
All right? So we're going to go to our glue. And we're going to press that tip down. And we're really going to put a healthy amount, especially right over here in that center. We're going to put a nice healthy amount of glue.
Okay.
Now, with more glue comes more dry time. And this is where almost you want to set it and forget it. We're going to go ahead and lift this up. And I think there should be a transmitter box or something like that over there. You see that?
There's a transmitter.
I don't think that was too heavy, so we're going to get a LiPo bag full of batteries here. Go ahead and remove that real quick. There, that's better. If you get down here and look, you're going to see that dihedral gauge is right underneath the crack on the wing. So for this, give this actually about 3-4 minutes of dry time. All right, 4 minutes has passed, and I'm going to go ahead and slide this out, and you can see it drops a little bit, but not a lot. It's a very strong joint. So let's go ahead while we can and reinforce that joint with some tape.
Okay.
So now if it was just one break, that would be considered dihedral. If it has more than one break, polyhedral, you got it.
All right.
So we're going to reinforce that just like so. All right, let's go ahead and pick one tip, and we're going to do the exact same thing. You want to do it on your side?
Okay, yeah.
Only thing you need to do is go down in here with the razor blade, and we're actually going to put a score cut. The reason we didn't do that before is we don't know if it's going to line up exactly with it.
We're cutting our spar?
Just a little bit through the spar, just through one layer.
All right.
Beautiful. Now go ahead with your barbecue skewer and kind of open that up a little bit.
Okay. Just where the spar's at, or the whole thing?
Yeah, just where the spar's at.
Okay. All right.
And it sounds kind of crazy. Go ahead and put a little bit of a crease right on that back tip there. You can do it with your fingernail.
Just like kind of
Yeah.
like that.
All you're doing is telling it where you want it to bend.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to hold this up. Now go ahead and carefully raise that tip up. Feel it kind of moving for you now?
Yeah.
Nice. Go ahead and slide that in. Let's see how it looks. Solid. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to want to glue this down. Now one thing you can do is just lift this up just a little bit beyond where it needs to go, so it's not fighting it too badly.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the glue gun. Go ahead and pump some glue in. Same process as before.
A little generous.
Yep. I'll just kind of follow up. I'm going to smear some of that in. And then go ahead and raise your tip up and put your dihedral gauge right in there. Very nice.
Just on the end, right?
Just on the end.
Okay.
Got it. And whatever is squeezed out, I'm just going to smooth out. I'm trying to be as careful as possible not to dent the foam too badly. Lay that LiPo bag right on top of there. You can also use a bag of sand, some lead weights, things like that. Once again, about 3-4 minutes. Nice. Let's go ahead and reinforce this with some tape. And we'll repeat the exact same process on the other side.
Okay.
Cool. Now, if you're going to build this to be a sailplane or a slope soar or something like that, you don't need to cut this area out. This area is only cut out if you plan on using the power pod.
Okay.
So we are going to use the power pod, so let's go ahead and slice that out right now. There we are. And depending on how you built your power pod, you may need to do a little bit more trimming, but this should be a nice little friction fit right on in there.
There you go.
There we are. All right, last thing I'm going to do right here is you have a little bit of a gap here. I'm just going to put a nice heavy bead of glue right down in here and let it dry. Final step is a little piece of tape. All right, now on all of our other pieces, we've preserved this, right? Forever and ever and ever. We're going to do the exact same process. We're going to trace around the perimeter.
Okay.
Also this back edge here and the side plates here, so this wing lasts nice and long. All right, the 3-channel wing's now done. Let's go ahead and put our attention to the 4-channel wing. The process is going to be very similar to the before, except we're going to have an extra step here where we're going to be removing some foam, doing the same technique on our main spars, but this is going to be a spacer for the trailing edge.
It looks like there's more things to punch out too.
Yep, we're going to have 2 ailerons in here. Now we put 2, there you go. We put 2 separate ailerons here so you can do a flaperon mix. What a flaperon mix is where you can droop your ailerons both together to make flaps. So flaps and ailerons put together, flaperons.
Flaperon.
That's if you want. The basic setup is going to just be full-length ailerons.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and pop out our pieces. And then also, while we're here, why don't I just point out what needs to be cleared out.
Okay.
We're going to clear the foam here, 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 and here. All right, so just to recap, we have both the 2 outer portions of the main spar, the center spar, and then both the chamfered edges here. Now, you're familiar with this. This is just like the 3-channel wing. We're going to do the exact same process on this portion of the wing as well, except it's going to fold like this. That's going to give us a nice finished edge that we won't have to go back and reinforce, but also add a lot of strength.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and do the spars first, get those out of our way.
All right.
We'll join the wings, and then we'll go ahead and fold this over. The spar portion with the full cut through in the center is going to be where your dihedral is going to be.
This side here?
Mm-hmm. Nice. So put all your energy into getting that paper nice and flat first. Push down against the table, and then fold it flat and press it flat. Beat on the edge, beat on the edge. Down the middle. Press on the edge. And then fold it flat. Now, if you're just starting off and you think that your flying skills and your building skills are going to get better with time,
You're wrong.
no, you're wrong. I was going to say, if you want to start off with a 3-channel, you can hold on to the 4-channel. The wing kit is completely separate from the rest and self-contained. That is my dog Max, by the way. So you can hold off on this step and actually just forward all the way over to the setting up the electronics and the Maiden if you want. But if you're looking to have 2 different experiences, just build them both. With all of our score cuts and our reliefs facing down against the table, thank you. We'll once again tack the leading edge and the trailing edge with a little tiny piece of tape. Just like this. All right, you want to go over the whole area?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's just fleck these out now.
That's my job.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to put them back in for you?
Okay. Just remember next time, all right?
All right. Stealing your thunder. Beautiful.
Okay.
All right. Rotated 180 degrees. Let's go ahead and put some glue where the wing joints are. And just like before, we have a smaller cavity here, but we're still going to avoid it. We're going to put glue here, and then through this area here. And we're going to avoid this section here because really, there's nothing to glue.
Here too?
Mm-hmm. Nice. Excellent.
Okay.
Yep. If any excess squeezes out, just wipe it up. So on this next step, we won't be able to really turn things on its edge, but really the most important thing is that we just line up the 2 edges as square as possible.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and put some glue down the exact same way we did before. Perfect. See how we kind of just take our hand and kind of run it down, make sure the edge is nice and square. Very nice. Now is the time that we're going to cut our double bevel for the wing. The double bevel is going to be right here.
Okay.
This is actually going to be the leading edge of the wing. If you look at this, this is about the same spacing as our spars that we did on our other wing. So let's go ahead and make sure this cracks apart if you're scratch building. And then we'll either cut or sand or double bevel.
Okay.
When you're cutting the double bevel, if it ever starts bowling up on you, that's a sign that your razor blade is too dull. If it ever starts ripping the paper, that's usually because of your blade. Either replace your blade or sand it. All right, full length now, huh?
I believe in you.
Thanks.
Max the watchdog.
Yeah, Max is vocal lately.
That's right, Max. They're super scared.
All right, let's go ahead and do the other side. All right, we talked about before, a good way to tell. So this can fold easily up to 90 degrees. If you can push it past to about a 45, you got yourself a pretty good bevel, and that looks really good.
All right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and put our spars on.
Okay.
And since this is our leading edge, we're going to face the paper towards the leading edge. I don't think there's really a big difference on why. But if you look here, there's an etch mark here and here on both sides of the wings.
Right.
The way this is going to lay out is that will go on the far side of the etch mark.
Okay.
This will meet in between the two.
It's pretty much lined right up with that mark.
You got it. This is going to be the pocket where our servo is going to go through.
All right.
All right, so let's go ahead and glue this in place, making sure that our cut mark is face down and lined up with the center of the wing.
Yeah.
There you are. Beautiful. So this wing design is very simple. As we talked about before with the Explorer, the whole idea is building on and creating new platforms, new wings.
Yeah.
You can use a lot of these techniques, but just change the dimensions to come up with different wings and different styles. Matter of fact, you can go back through many of the airplanes. If you want to do a symmetrical wing, you can look at things like the FT3D. If you want to do a twin engine, look at the Guinea Pig. If you want to do a bigger, fatter wing, look at maybe the Storch. You can try different wings, different build techniques, and then just create your own shapes. All right, you think we're ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. So our next step, let's go ahead and find our barbecue skewer that I keep losing. And
There we go.
just do a light score down both sides of the score cuts, just to open it up just a little bit.
I can't walk around with this thing like banging and everything. Sorry, not expecting.
So Peter's, the time it took us to build 2 wings, Peter has built this big circle plane. Is that bigger than the previous one?
No, this is the exact same size as the second circle.
Did you have the laser file for that, or did you just...
I have laser file for this.
Thank goodness. Holy cow.
So I knew this would probably happen again. If we need a giant fuselage, here it is.
There we go. That's a pretty awesome fuselage. Okay. Never know what's going to happen here, huh? Right, let's just cut this off. It's not enough to wrap around. Great work, man. Okay, let's go ahead and bend this over and make sure it takes its shape nicely. Oh, wonderful. Once again, we're putting most of our emphasis right over where that spar is. We're not pushing down in between here. And you notice we haven't cut our ailerons out. If a lot of you follow along with our build videos, we oftentimes will cut out our ailerons. Because this wing is so narrow, pushing where the fold is going to cause it to get damaged easily.
Okay.
So it's better to build the wing and then bevel our ailerons.
Yeah.
Much like we do on the minis. Okay, that feels good.
Okay.
Same process as before. Bury the tip right down that crack and just squeeze a nice light bead all the way through. And Josh, if you want to grab a piece of scrap foam, go ahead and smear those outer exposed areas just a little bit on the smooth side. Don't want to take too much time because if you do, the glue will dry. Alright, ready? That's perfect. We're going to fold this over, do the exact same process before, making sure this spar area is nice and flat, but now making sure that the trailing edge is against the table. That holds its shape nicely. Ready to do the honors?
Where are we going now?
We're going to go to the leading edge
Okay.
and the main spars.
Okay.
Max got a mohawk. He's good, Max.
It's very classy.
He is very classy. It's green. Alright, ready? Alright, so all of our energy is going to go right over this top spar. There we go.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and flip it over 180 degrees, exposing the trail edge right towards us. And then Josh, go ahead and take the tip of your hot glue gun here. I got another glue stick ready for you when you need it. And just put a light bead right underneath the trail edge. See how much more finished that looks?
Yeah.
We're going to be doing that on a lot of our new airplanes. Oh, you had enough. That's fantastic. Alright. And with this flat against the table, we're just going to focus our energy right over this trailing edge here.
Okay.
If you're really worried about the glue, we can actually just take this and... There we are. The important thing is that it's nice and flat and hard up against the surface of the wing. Alright, if you did everything right when you release this, nothing moves. And we're good to go.
All right.
Let's go ahead and check our flat surface here. That's nice. It's really good, man. Okay, you ready to put some dihedral into it?
Yeah.
Alright, so go ahead and open that cavity. Kind of take that barbecue skewer down in here. Open it up. And then we're just going to hold this down, kind of rock it up, make sure that we have plenty of give here. And this one, it's going to be a little bit different here. Let's flip this up. We're going to place the tall end of our gauge under here.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to place that gauge under here, and that's where it's going to rest to give us the dihedral that we need.
All right.
On the last one, we went out here, but if you remember, we already put dihedral in the middle.
Yeah.
So we didn't need as much of an extreme angle.
Okay.
This time it's right here.
Right. Okay.
All right, go ahead and pump some glue in there. Do you need a glue stick? I'm going to kind of open this up just a little bit for you here. There you go. Good job. Perfect. All right, we're going to lift up this edge. Place the gauge underneath it. Go ahead and press down the middle. And I think that lipo bag.
Where did that go? It's right here.
Thank you. Okay, this part takes a while to dry. Alright, right underneath that edge. Perfect. I'm going to smooth this glue up.
So this is just going to be dihedral?
Just dihedral, one break. Alright, once the glue is dry, the same process as before. Put a tape right over the center. If you remove the dihedral gauge and it flops down more than maybe an eighth to a quarter of an inch,
You done it wrong.
go ahead and put more glue on it and leave it alone. Alright, go ahead and remove that lipo bag. Fold this under. There we are. Now we get to go ahead and remove the ailerons. We're going to go ahead and finish this score cut right here. And right here. Also here. Sorry, Josh.
Ow.
And here. Alright, let's carefully see. If we have to put too much force to crack these loose, we can always run through it with a razor blade. There you go.
Okay.
Beautiful. A little bit more challenging on this score cut. Make sure you have a nice long razor blade. We're going to fold this 180 degrees. And I'm not going to try to start right here. I'm actually going to dish in and go all the way to one edge and then turn around and hit the other edge. Now the most important thing is you want at least 30 degrees of deflection, and you want no binding when you push it down. If you have binding when you push it down, like say I left this here and I want to push it down and it's binding, that's going to transmit to the servo and not give you the proper throw.
Right.
So I'm actually going to turn this around this way. I'm going to do this just at an awkward angle for the camera here. I'm going to come back this way. So now I can inspect this. Say I'm not happy with it, you can always go back with a sanding block and clean it up. I'm just going to go ahead and do one more swipe down, get a little bit more throw. The reason I want a little bit more throw than I probably need is because of flaps. Now I can get a nice deep throw. Nice.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and finish up that part. Yeah. I'm going to actually put it from underneath. I'm going to just pull it down a little bit towards me. Now, say you weren't happy. You actually did a really good job, man. Say you weren't happy, you could always take your sanding block afterwards and still lay that flat. You can always... just like that.
Okay.
And even it out. The most important thing is you have nice clean deflection. If you have anything like that little cut through there, just put a little piece of tape over it. So now that we have the ailerons cut in, let's go ahead and reinforce it with some hot glue. Make sure you have a scrap piece of foam board. Let's go ahead and fold this over and then press your nozzle down right into that hinge line and put a nice thin ribbon of glue. All we're going to do is we're going to scrape off what glue is left. There we go. Go down this. There we go. We're going to let that dry and we'll repeat the process on the other side. There we are. Make that as thin and widespread as possible and let that dry. That's going to make everything in here together and make it very strong. Once that's dry, we can move on to the servos. Let's go ahead and cut out the center section here before we put our servos, because that's going to be the area that we're going to want to reach in and pull our leads to.
Okay.
Now in your kit, we include 2 long pieces of push rod wire. This is more than long enough to actually build quite a few other kits, so make sure you don't lose this at the end. But one thing I want to do right now is just simply take a pair of pliers. I'm going to make a little makeshift hook. Bend just a little bit more than it needs to. That way what we can do is we can actually reach through and we can grab a servo lead.
Okay.
Speaking of servos, we should have 2 centered servos, both with just a single-sided arm on them. Let's go ahead and drop that through, and we're going to hook this and then pull it on through.
Nice.
There you go.
There it is.
Perfect. Now we're going to have the servo as far away from the hinge line as possible, and we're just going to go ahead and just temporarily press this in place. It's going to kind of crush a little bit of the foam and seat right down in. There we are.
Okay.
We're going to repeat the same process on the other side.
All right.
Let's go ahead and lift this up just slightly. Put a drop of glue under each side. Now, in our electronics packs, we have linkage stoppers. And linkage stoppers are wonderful for adjustment, but I'm going to show you how to do it without the linkage stoppers. And that way, if you're scratch building at home and you don't have them, you can go through this step without it. In our kits, we have these control horns. We're going to use 2 control horns on this. We're going to go ahead and line this up with the slot and push it on through. Just like that. Let's make sure that we have full range of motion. Now, if you need anything more than that, go ahead and just simply take a razor blade and cut that out a little bit more. With our push rod facing outside, just like you see here, we're going to go through the very top hole. And notice I haven't glued my control horn in yet. I'm leaving that alone. If I can pop it out. There we are. I'm going to set this down in place just where it needs to be. The most important part is the point where the push rod passes through needs to be right over the hinge line. All right, just to make this a little bit visible, I'm going to show you how to hand bend one of these. Once again, we haven't glued the control horn in. I'm going to go ahead and put a little mark right over the hinge line. Now I want full deflection on this. I'm going to go all the way out to my 3rd hole. I'm going to put a little dot right over where the hole is. Now I know exactly where to go. Go ahead and grab just before it. I'm going to bend straight up. Just like before, we were talking about our modified hinges. We're going to grab it about 1/8 inch in and bend it straight over. Just like that.
Okay.
Now we have 2 choices. We can either straighten that out to make it a typical Z-bend, or we can leave it like this and actually have adjustment to pop it through different holes. I'm actually going to leave it like this, but first I got to cut it short. One nice thing about leaving this as a modified Z-bend, it makes it a little bit easier when you catch. You don't jam your thumb right into the end of the wire lead.
Painful.
Yes. Alright, we can just go right underneath here. Always unscrew your servo arm if you want. There we are. Now the servo is still centered up. What I can do is I can actually make sure with just a minute little adjustment that that's just perfect.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and we'll glue that down in, and then we're going to repeat the exact same process on your side. Our control horns are both glued down. Everything is nice and centered. Our last step, if you're planning on just flying this as a simple 4-channel, will reconnect the Y harness.
Okay.
What the Y harness does is it actually connects the signals and mirrors them together. So when you give right, the servos actually bend the right direction. One deflects up and one directs down because it's pointing outwards.
Okay.
Now, if you're doing flap-arounds, you'll actually use extensions instead of a Y harness and program into 2 separate channels so you have individual control. It's really important when you're connecting these to make sure that you match up the browns or the blacks together and the oranges and the reds. So the dark color on the one edge will be ground. The far color that's light will oftentimes be the signal. The middle one will be your power.
Okay.
And just as we did on our 3-channel wing, let's go ahead and make sure that we cut out the center section. And just as before, place some glue down over these layers. Big gap or little gap, doesn't matter. And we'll finish it off with a piece of tape. We're ready to go ahead and seal the outer edges and move on. All right, our 4-channel wing is done, and our 3-channel wing is done.
Ta-da!
We're ready to finish off the plane and go fly.
Yeah.
Now both the final assembly is the same for the B motor pack and the C motor pack. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it on the C motor pack because it has the end to the battery that I'm going to use. Now both versions, B and C, love 2200 milliamp 3 cells, which means on our B pack you may have to use an adapter to step up if you don't have a JST on a 2200, which not many people do.
Okay.
So I'm going to just show you on a 30 amp BL heli, and in the future we are going to be moving to make all 20 amps also XT60.
Okay.
So by the time you're watching this, just look at the picture on our electronics pack, and you'll see what end is on the ESC that's included. Now the most important thing is that we just make our connections. Reason being, if it's running backwards, all we need to do is change 3 of the connectors.
Right.
So once we have this, we can pass this right on through the bottom, like so. And as I said before, if you really want to, you can get in there with a zip tie and zip tie that up against it. I actually like to leave this down like this, and the tension of the battery keeps everything nice and clean and not hitting the prop. Let's go ahead and pass this on through. There we go. Just sit that nice all the way up against its stop. Go ahead and pull off your nose.
I got your nose.
All right, for the receiver, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to connect our throttle. Now on the Grapner, that's channel 1. That's also the same way it runs with the Spectrum line as well too.
Okay.
Now you're going to notice that the pin at the very top is negative.
Mm-hmm.
Turn that around so you can see it. That's going to be our ground line. And if you took this and rotated it down, that means our very top pin is ground. So it's going to go in as you see right here. Now on the 3-channel version, the aileron is actually your rudder.
Mm-hmm.
So our next channel is going to be rudder, and the following channel is going to be elevator.
Okay.
Now if you have any questions about this, you're using a line that we don't have, like a Futaba or something like that, just check your manual and see which ones are which. Now this is going to be hard to see, but if you sight down inside the tube there, you'll be able to kind of wiggle the lines and then trace that back and see which control surfaces. Just remember the servo on the right is actually controlling the push rod on the left. So in this case, the servo on the right, as you're, I guess, facing with the plane, is going to be controlling your rudder. And the servo on the left is going to be controlling your elevator.
All right.
The easiest thing to do is plug them in. If they're backwards, go ahead and switch it. So we have our connections made. This is, once again, Josh's 3-channel version. We got channel 3 going to our elevator, channel 2 going to our rudder, and channel 1 going to the throttle. Now the nice thing the way we design the wings is once you get everything running in the right orientation, you can unplug this and plug in your aileron ship. You can plug in your sport wing. You don't have to do any reversing.
Okay.
Which is really important.
Cool.
All right, now you can see something. I took off our prop. We want to find out which way this spins, but we don't want to find it by way of chopping our fingers. And also, on radios, what if you have something reversed? Or what if you push something wrong? We don't want that. So I went ahead and removed that. And we already have our receiver bound. I'll turn on our power. And I'll plug this in. Now the first thing we want to do is let's go ahead and make sure we have our controls right. Up and down is right, and our rudder is backwards. So let's go ahead and change that now. I'm going to go over to servo settings. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go down to channel 2. I'm going to highlight this, and the first thing that highlights is reverse. I'm going to go ahead and press that. And now our servos are moving properly. Now if I hit enter again and I go over to center, this is where if my servo's off a little bit, I can actually center it up just through that.
Okay.
So the nice thing about this MZ12 is you have reverse, centering, and travel adjustment all on one screen. Makes it very convenient. You can go down through every channel, address the rudder, address the elevator, and then move on. Now the elevator is spot on perfect. The rudder is not perfect. And the throws are good too. The final step here we'll do is we'll put a throw gauge on it.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go ahead and check our rotation here. Now I don't have the rotation, but what we can do is remember you're playing with a little piece of foam.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and press that on there. Now we can see which way this is turning.
That tiny prop.
Now it's spinning this way. Now that'd be good if you're propping it facing towards you. But in actuality, that's backwards.
Right.
So we want to reverse 2 of the leads, and we're going to do that right now. So let's go ahead and unplug the battery. I can pull just enough slack to swap out 2 of them.
Any 2?
Any 2. So if you want to make a 3-phase motor run backwards, say right direction is ABC, ABC, ABC.
Okay.
If you reverse 2 of them, what happens? Say you switch A and B, so it goes B, A, C, B, A, C.
Right.
See how it switches to a reverse pattern within one cycle?
Okay.
So that's how it can run backwards. You're actually just reversing the order of the phases.
Wow, that's cool.
Okay, so let's go ahead and plug that back in. Okay, so here's the orientation of our prop. We need to spin this way. And it is. Cool. One last thing I might as well show you here to get the most power and get everything on your throttle set right. Go ahead and unplug me one time. Okay, the prop is off. I'm going full throttle. Go ahead and plug me in.
Are you sure about this?
I am positive about that. We're going to listen for 2 beeps. All the way down. What this is doing is this is telling the receiver, this is telling the ESC what the full travel of the transmitter is.
Okay.
So now I got full power.
Right.
Full is full, chopped is chopped, life is good.
Okay.
Let's make sure we unbutton our battery. All right, at this point, let's go ahead and put on our wing. And we're going to stay putting the prop on until just before we go out and fly.
Okay.
All right? So do that. We're going to go ahead and poke through both sides. I like to put just a little bit of a downward pressure because I want to make sure that I get underneath this area right here. The reason being is I want this to actually be under pressure when it focuses and when it pulls up on the other side. Same process here. Slightly downward angle. And now we're going to pass it on through. There we are. We're going to give ourselves about a 1/2 inch or a little over a centimeter on both sides. And then we can even use these cutters here. Now we're going to repeat the exact same process on this side here.
Okay.
A slightly downward angle. Now this is actually going through 3 layers of foam because it's also anchoring in the power pod. There we go.
Cool.
All right, so let's go ahead and place our 3-channel wing on there.
Coming together.
Nice little friction fit just there. That's going to center it up beautifully.
Okay.
Now all we need to do is put our rubber bands on.
Yep.
And then from the leading edge, I like to put 4 sets or 4 rubber bands on. 2 going diagonal, and then 2 horizontal. If you had a bigger airplane, sometimes you can put as many as 8 sets, or 8 rubber bands. Just keep in mind, the more rubber bands you put on, the less flex the wing is going to have in an impact. There we go. Perfect.
Cool.
So we're going to go ahead and put the battery in. Now the battery decides the balance. So this is going to be flying with an FPV system with a GoPro on the front. The battery would actually be much further back.
Right.
But in this case, we're going to have the 2200 all the way up in the front. You can see this is a 2250. We can even go all the way up to a 3000 and it'll fly beautiful.
Okay.
This is something I'll be putting on a FPV plane. Something that you'd want to fly a little bit farther.
Right.
But we don't have any Velcro. Now I did put some slots in here, so if you want to actually strap your battery down, you can.
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put some fuzzy battery Velcro down right here. Now we can fasten our battery down right up at the front of the nose.
Okay.
At this point, the prop has a lot to do with balance. So let's go ahead and reinstall our prop.
Okay.
There we are. Always want to make sure you give it a little spin beforehand. You have about 1/4 of an inch between the boom.
Right.
Just enough. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck this receiver down through the bottom. And then I'm going to just use a little piece of tape and tape this up. Going nice and vertical to give us the best range possible. There we are.
Okay.
Now the nose adds very little weight, so let's just go ahead and move on to balancing real quick.
Yeah.
Now on the bottom of these, you're going to see 2 little cut dots, here and here. We're going to want to place our fingers on both those dots, and what we're going to want to see is neutral balance. A little touch nose heavy will go a long way, especially for the maiden flight. So I strongly encourage you to make sure you're just a touch on the downward side.
Okay.
Okay? This looks perfect. Our final step, now that we have it all balanced out, is to go ahead and check the throws. Now to do that, we're going to take our included throw gauge and we're going to line it up with the back tail surface. What we want to see is when we give it full deflection, that surface comes up and meets the throw gauge. That's great. Let's go ahead and do it on the rudder. And if it doesn't, just adjust your travel adjustment down to meet the surface. Now that'll be your low gauge. We also have high gauge on the other side.
Okay.
Same process for both. If you're doing dual rates, like you're flying ailerons, that's a really great feature to have. Now, if you're flying FPV, I strongly recommend setting up your low rates and then put a very high expo so you have very smooth flight characteristics. And then you can flip it to high throws when you want to fly a little more aggressive.
Okay.
All right, we got our balance, we got everything in check. I'm going to swap out your motors to the B-Pack.
All right.
Get mine ready to go, and we're going to go out and maiden it.
Okay.
So it's not too many times that we get to maiden 2 planes at the same time.
Yeah.
So Josh, you're going to be flying the 3-channel with the B-size motor. And actually, I squeezed in a 3,000 milliamp battery pack in there for you, too.
You did not.
It's good. It's a little bit windier today. It gives them better penetration in the wind. And I'm going to be flying the 4-channel here. So one thing is, if this is obviously a plane that can be built for noobs, it can be your very first plane, there's a couple key things to check out before you fly. One thing is we have a link down below. It's 6 quick tips for a successful first flight.
Yep.
Make sure your throws are correct. Make sure you're launching into the wind. Make sure your balance is right. There's some other tips along that. If you've never flown before, never maiden before, I'd strongly encourage you to go down to that link, watch it. It gives you one last final go through to give you the best possible opportunities to fly. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to launch into the wind. Josh, I'm going to actually launch you.
Okay.
About a little over half throttle. So I got a little bit more power than you,
Yeah.
and I'm doing the same thing you're doing. I'm getting altitude, and where we're flying here is notorious for lots of turbulence. Let's go ahead and slow down here. There we are.
The clouds are deceptive. It's still really bright up.
It really is bright, huh? I guess that brings into the next thing. Always have sunglasses, right?
Yeah. Which we don't.
We're almost turning our Maiden into a combat, huh? This is fantastic for things like FPV and also taking you to that next step. It is really windy.
Yeah.
Well, it's not our smoothest Maiden, but it is a lot of fun. That's okay. If you guys want to see what smooth flight looks like, not in 15-mile-an-hour winds, go to check out our review video. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get ready to put mine down. Woo. And I haven't even camp dried this yet, so I'm going to actually get to catch mine. Holy cow, it's windy. All right, there's one down. Nice. That's okay. Nice landing, man. Here you go.
Thanks, man.
Well, one thing that we mentioned in the 6 quick tips for a successful first flight is don't fly in heavy wind. But we didn't want to miss this opportunity to fly together, did we?
It was fun, though. Kept it interesting.
Yeah, what was your experience?
Hey, it handles really well. I'd really love to try it with less wind, but, you know, it wasn't too bad at all, actually.
Friends, I want to thank you for watching. I want to strongly encourage you. This plane can be multiple things to multiple people, which means it's good to build in groups. I strongly encourage you to make a memory, sit down with a friend, sit down with a child, or build as a group in a school function.
Yeah.
And go fly together, make memories together, and have fun together.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.